Our protagonist is completely addicted to games. After playing for 3 days straight, he finally became the top 1 player in the game. For this boy, virtual life is more interesting than his real life. Grabbing his phone, he realized he was about to start his class, when suddenly he heard the sound of a truck braking. For a moment, his vision trembled. Everything was over for him at that moment. But there was a drop of hope. A man was happy, saying he now had a beautiful son. But the child didn't seem to be alive as it wasn't moving. However, that drop fell on the motionless child. Soon, its expression began to change. Then the child started crying desperately. The man seemed happy to notice his child was healthy. With great happiness, he tossed his child up with force. This child was the game-addicted boy who could only remember a truck coming towards him at that moment. Only then did he realize he had reincarnated and was now flying like a bird. For an instant, the boy wondered if this was really happening. And finally, he was sure he had reincarnated in another world. The boy was determined to enjoy the new life he had gained in a different way. At that moment, his father picked him up and jumped to a distant place. Initially, the boy found this new world much more interesting. After 8 years of his reincarnation had passed, the boy began to recall some memories of his past life and wonder why the memories were there now that he had spiritual powers and lived in a wonderful place in a deserted rural area. Currently, his routine is training combat methods with his father. The boy feels that his current life is much more interesting than his past life. His mother believes he has the talent to become something grand. However, the boy starts questioning the time it took to reach the first rank of his training. So he begins to plan a way to get stronger faster. His parents receive an invitation from an elder to train him at his training school, and we find out that our protagonist's name is Si-jin. However, they know that Si-jin has a lot of potential to start at a school as a novice apprentice. The elder realizes that his parents doubt the ability of his teachings and questions the boy's parents if they have any doubts about something. His father doesn't know how to explain how the boy got so strong even training at home. So Si-jin starts putting his plan into action. He goes to a nearby forest and shoots a squirrel. After successfully using his weapon, he is sure he will get stronger this way. Finally, he finds a blacksmith who can manufacture his modern world firearm. Confident, he continues his tests with the new weapon. At that moment, a monstrous animal appears in front of him. The animal runs fiercely towards him. He shoots the animal several times, but he can't finish it off with the weapon. Then he has the idea of using a stone explosive grenade to kill the animal. Si-jin throws the grenade at the beast. His parents and the nearby elder manage to see and hear the destruction the grenade caused. Then they quickly move to the location. Upon arriving, they find Si-jin holding a weapon in his hand and the animal already lifeless. They wonder what had happened there. A while later, the elder scolds Si-jin for facing such a fierce animal even being at a very low level. But Si-jin is happy that the elder is surprised by his feat. The master asks how he killed the beast so quickly despite it being so strong. Then the master invites him to learn the main combat senses and advises Si-jin to hide his true identity. Si-jin asks the master which identity he is talking about, and the master explains that he is the son of 2 spiritual deities. Then he wonders what the master is talking about, and upon understanding, Si-jin is outraged to only find out now. His parents are embarrassed for not telling him before, and the master questions why they hadn't told Si-jin anything. The master explains to Si-jin that spiritual deities are people who have managed to reach the maximum level of combat, and that few people have achieved this feat. At this moment, Si-jin is standing in front of the door of the training academy, and the master emphasizes that he only invites elite people to train at his academy. So Si-jin is indignant at having to train and study at a school even in another world. His mother is saddened that her son is growing up so fast while his father consoles her, saying they can finally have a real honeymoon. Si-jin is outraged because his father said they are sending him to a school to have privacy. He says goodbye to his parents, saying he is going to the training academy, and his parents wish him luck in his school admission. Si-jin feels embarrassed in front of the others and asks his parents not to talk nonsense, wondering if they are really spiritual deities. At that moment, another person calls the protagonist. The student who calls him mocks Si-jin because his parents brought him to the school door, saying it wasn't a place for children. A group of nearby students begin to comment on the poor behavior of the veteran student who called Si-jin. Si-jin ignores the provocation and goes off looking for the exam location. Then the student yells at Si-jin, telling him to stop, saying the school is only for rich families and not for a country bumpkin. Our protagonist finally stops walking. But again, Si-jin ignores the provocation, saying he didn't hear what the boy said. The veteran student gets irritated with Si-jin's sarcasm and moves to attack, threatening our protagonist with a magical fire attack. Si-jin is outraged at being attacked. The veteran student, all confident, says that if the boy apologizes, he won't attack him. At this moment, Si-jin recalls his mother's teachings about the boy's power and believes he can manipulate the same magic easily. The careless way the boy manipulated the magic makes Si-jin indignant. The boy wonders if this is how common people manipulate spirits, becoming more and more indignant. Thinking that the boy is manipulating a beginner's power and feeling powerful, he takes a deep breath, thinking about what to do next. Without much difficulty, Si-jin casts an ice magic on the boy's hands, blocking his power. The veteran student is perplexed, not knowing what's happening. He can't use his fire magic and doesn't understand anything. Then Si-jin explains to the veteran what he did to block his magic, saying he cut off the oxygen around his hand. Si-jin understands that the veteran student doesn't know about the existence of oxygen since it is not taught in the current world. The student gets very irritated, thinking he is being underestimated by Si-jin, and moves to attack again. At this moment, Si-jin, with an air of superiority, dodges the attack. The protagonist then casts a magic on the student. Si-jin's magic starts to leave the student breathless, suffocating him. Then he gets more and more suffocated. The student soon falls unconscious, and Si-jin then wonders if he might have put too much power into the magic. At that moment, a very beautiful girl approaches, praising Si-jin and thanking him for the help because she was trapped by the boy. The two exchange introductions, stating their names, and thus we meet Mujilan. Si-jin recalls that he couldn't communicate very well with women in the modern world and only with his mother in the current world. Mujilan praises him, saying he is very strong. Si-jin agrees but emphasizes that the veteran student who thought highly of himself was very weak, and Mujilan doesn't understand what had happened between the two. At this moment, all the students are called to start the admission exams, and they are to inject their spiritual essences into the spiritual stone. Si-jin at this moment realizes that the elder master was really telling the truth about it being normal for very talented people to be in the spiritual master domain. Then Mujilan starts injecting her spiritual essence into the spiritual stone, and a very strong spiritual light covers the girl. Seeing the immense power of Mujilan, our protagonist is perplexed and believes she is not just an ordinary person. The other students then start commenting on the girl's incredible power, and that she is a princess from a neighboring country with great potential. After Mujilan finishes, Si-jin approaches her, complimenting her, and Mujilan responds by saying he is also very strong. Finally, it is Si-jin's turn to inject his essence into the spiritual stone. Our protagonist decides to inject all his spiritual essence at once into the stone, and something surprising happens. Mujilan is perplexed by Si-jin's immense power. He continues injecting his essence, not knowing what might happen. Then Si-jin notices several cracks in the stone around his hand and realizes the stone won't withstand so much power. He quickly decides to reduce the power he is injecting into the spiritual stone. At this moment, Si-jin is stunned by almost losing control of his power. The other students start questioning, saying he should be ashamed for participating in the exam. Princess Mujilan wonders how it's possible for him to have so much power and is indignant at almost witnessing the spiritual stone explode for the first time. Si-jin wonders if he will have to pay for the stone if it breaks, claiming the stone is very weak. At that moment, someone arrives informing where the rest of the admission exams will take place, calling everyone's attention, announcing that the exams will start soon. Most of the students look at each other with a competitive air. Si-jin is still desperate, realizing he has much more power than needed for the exams. A teacher from the academy arrives, explaining the rules of the exams and their scoring. The teacher also informs that there are very advanced level demons in the mountains and asks the students to avoid passing through there. Thus, the admission exams begin. Our protagonist feels at home due to the smell of demons. Si-jin, with an air of confidence, looks at something. At this moment, a student appears attacking a low-level demon. Si-jin watches the student attacking the demon from a distance. From the top of a tree, Si-jin fires a shot, hitting the animal. Sarcastically, he apologizes to the student, saying he couldn't help it, claiming the student was having trouble killing the animal. The student who was trying to capture the demon is furious, asking how he dares to steal his prey. Si-jin asks the student why he is indignant about the situation, saying it is normal in games to steal mobs. The irritated student tells Si-jin to stop talking nonsense, saying he is part of a very important family. At that moment, another boy arrives, questioning why the student is holding Si-jin, emphasizing that it is strictly forbidden to use family power in the school. The student, recognizing the newcomer, is frightened, knowing he is a spiritual general. Terrified, the student runs away, shouting he will get Si-jin later. Our protagonist is indignant at how the student can shout and run at the same time. Then Si-jin thanks the newcomer, who introduces himself as Lin Yun and says it's rare for someone to talk to him. Si-jin's new friend proposes they form a team. Si-jin, taking advantage of the situation to accompany a spiritual general, accepts the boy's offer. Then, sometime later at the exam site, The teachers comment that it is not just a test to see abilities but also to test teamwork. The teacher emphasizes that even being a spiritual general, it is very difficult to complete the exams alone. So Lin Yun wonders if they will really be able to complete the test even with him being a spiritual general. Then Lin Yun explains to Si Jin what the attack plan will be. At that moment, a ferocious beast appears. Surrounded by demons, Lin Yun orders Si Jin to retreat while he plans a way to eliminate the demons. Lin Yun starts attacking the demons quickly to save Si Jin. He believes Si Jin is so scared he can't move. Si Jin is fascinated, seeing those two-headed demons, imagining ways to prepare them for eating. At this moment, Lin Yun's reflection appears in the animal's eye, attacking it. The two come face to face. Then Lin Yun takes the chance to attack it using magic, but he misses the attack, and the animal dodges. Lin Yun continues attacking the demons fiercely with his powerful magics. His spells are so powerful that they form a cloud of smoke around him. Then Lin Yun comments that it will be difficult to eliminate the demons alone. He becomes desperate upon remembering that he left Si Jin behind. Going to meet Si Jin, he encounters several defeated demons and questions our protagonist about his real identity. At this moment, the masters are looking at the map. They remark that it was too early for the students to encounter level 5 demons. The masters emphasize that Lin Yun can defeat level 5 demons even though he is just a young spiritual general. One of the masters stresses that the exams were created just to test the students' senses and that they should not face demons of such a high level. Another master explains that if the level 5 mountain demon is defeated, all other demons will lose their will to fight. Then the elder master, in his thoughts, implores Si Jin not to cause any trouble. Lin Yun tells Si Jin that he knows he is someone very powerful but is heading in the wrong direction. Lin Yun emphasizes that there is a very powerful level 5 demon in that direction, and that Si Jin is crazy if he thinks about facing it. Si Jin emphasizes that he knows they couldn't defeat a demon of this level. He tells Lin Yun that someone went in the direction of the demon, and might be in need of help. Lin Yun believes Si Jin and thinks he is an inexperienced student in spiritual detection. Observing the map, the masters are indignant with someone heading towards the level 5 demon. Everyone would be surprised to know who is heading towards the mountain demon. Then we discover it is Princess Mujilan, believing in her potential, and she decides to attack the level 5 demon. She quickly jumps from the tree where she was towards the monster, performing her first magical attack on the beast, creating a terrifying gust of wind. Did she manage to succeed with her attack? Unfortunately, the level 5 demon did not suffer any scratches from the princess's attack, so she starts questioning her potential and prepares for another attack. Lin Yun and Si Jin wonder what is happening in the forest. Winds start to arise, and the two are amazed. Intrigued, Lin Yun believes the inexperienced student attacked the demon and that if they approach, they will also be in danger. Then the demon attacks the princess, and she jumps away. Princess Mujilan is amazed by the demon's power, and wonders if she will have to use her ability at maximum power. At this moment, the demon charges ferociously at her, attacking the princess, leaving her no time to react. After the monster's attack, she starts to fall, defeated. She becomes indignant, believing she has reached her limit, wondering if it's all really over for her. At this moment, Si Jin runs towards the falling princess. Then Si Jin catches her in his arms. He asks the princess if she is okay. Mujilan is surprised to see who caught her. The princess gets down from Si Jin's arms. Our protagonist, realizing that the princess is okay, emphasizes that they must leave the area immediately. Then Si Jin has the feeling that he already knew that place. He claims that the level 5 demon there is a relative of the hill demon behind his house. Lin Yun then realizes that Si Jin has previously encountered powerful demons, and asks him to take action. Si Jin, running, questions Lin Yun about his lack of common sense in wanting to face the demon. The young general gets irritated with Si Jin, asserting that Si Jin has been hiding his strength the whole time and tells him to stop pretending. Then Si Jin takes something hidden under his kimono. With an air of confidence, he pulls out a grenade. Si Jin throws the grenade towards the monster, and the two do not understand what is happening. Mujilan is scared and afraid, not knowing what will happen next. Our protagonist orders the two to duck, and the grenade explodes immediately. After the explosion, the monster's remains start to appear. Lin Yun and Mujilan are perplexed to see that the monster was instantly defeated. At the academy, the masters observing the map are stunned to realize that the level 5 demon had been defeated. The elder master becomes very irritated upon realizing that Si Jin had used the grenade again, knowing it would cause problems. The other students start wondering what is happening. They notice that all the demons are fleeing the forest. A master emphasizes that in years of history, it is the first time someone has been able to defeat a level 5 demon in an exam. Observing the map, the masters can see the demons fleeing from the mountain. The elder master states that due to what happened, they will have to approve all the students. Returning to the training academy, The students gather without knowing what really occurred. Mujilan, intrigued, questions Si Jin about his real identity and who trained him, and Lin Yun asks her to calm down. Then Lin Yun asks Mujilan to be patient, claiming that everyone has something to hide. Princess Mujilan agrees and finally calms down. At that moment, someone invites the Elder Master to give a speech, and he prepares to begin. The Elder Master, still not knowing what to say, tries to find words due to embarrassment. He then congratulates all the students for passing the exam and enrolling in the academy, taking the opportunity to urge the new students to dedicate themselves fully. The Elder Master reinforces that the school is very strict and will not hesitate to sacrifice the incompetent. He states that those who cannot keep up will be eliminated without compassion and will serve as an example to others. All the students present are stunned by the great Elder's speech, and tension takes over the students. Then the Elder Master starts to praise the teachers, commending each one's potential. He tells the students about the achievements of the teachers and former students of the training school who participated in the Purgatory War. The director, then the Elder Master, states that his training academy is responsible for maintaining peace on the continent. Si Jin becomes enthusiastic upon learning that he will have to work hard to reach his desired spiritual level. Then the other students mock Si Jin, saying he is dreaming too high and that he should keep his feet on the ground. Lin Yun, already knowing Si Jin's potential, reinforces to the students that he does not doubt the young boy. At that moment, Si Jin is called to give a speech, and everyone does not understand what is happening. Si Jin is intrigued to learn that he is being called to give a speech. Lin Yun, looking at the students who were questioning Si Jin's potential, points to Si Jin, saying that it was he who defeated the level 5 demon. The students are shocked to learn who really defeated the mountain monster. Si Jin finally arrives on stage. Still disconcerted, he prepares to begin a speech for everyone present. The young disciple starts a welcoming speech, saying he wants to be friends with everyone and recalling that he was ashamed to give speeches in the modern world. The students become irritated with Si Jin, saying he received help from Princess Mujilan and Lin Yun to defeat the level 5 monster. Si Jin is upset that they do not believe in his potential. Upset, he states that in neither world will he be able to enjoy himself in schools. At that moment, someone places a hand on his shoulder to give him advice. Then the Elder Master advises Si Jin to be more discreet, or he will have daily problems at school with the other students. The young boy asks the master to stay calm, asserting that no one can defeat him, to which the master says that is what he is afraid of. The Elder Master emphasizes that Si Jin must maintain discretion above all so that no one discovers his real identity. Si Jin tells the master that he will restrain himself. The next day, the teachers return with the other exams, explaining how they will be conducted. The students, practicing their spells, prepare to participate in another exam. Then Princess Mujilan starts her attack on the target in the exam, shooting her spell at it. She names her spell and continues the shot. At that moment, Princess Mujilan's spell appears heading towards the target with all its power. The princess's spell is so powerful that it destroys the target in seconds. The students start to comment on the immense potential of the princess. Finally, the princess finishes her attack, and the other students begin asking her to teach them. Then it is Si Jin's turn to participate in the exam, and some students start mocking him. Si Jin, with a sarcastic look, prepares to start his exam. Unexpectedly, he decides to use the same technique as the princess. He described the technique and then will put it into practice in the exam. Si Jin decides to launch the princess's technique with only 30% of its capacity. The princess is astonished to see what Si Jin is about to do. Si Jin's magic attack hits the target without causing much damage. A student comments that Si Jin's magic power is still low, but it's great for his level, and the young boy finds it amusing. At that moment, our protagonist notices that the princess is unsettled and tries to downplay his potential. The princess looks at Si Jin with a furious expression. She emphasizes to Si Jin that this technique is her own and that he learned it just by watching. At that moment, Si Jin realizes why Mujilan is looking at him furiously. Si Jin, unsettled by Mujilan's pressure, turns to where the students are. The young boy takes a deep breath, thankful that the class has ended, stating that it's still too early to learn new spiritual arts. The princess unexpectedly appears, pressuring Si Jin, and he thinks about running away again. Then Si Jin decides to dash away, trying to elude Mujilan, but she runs after him. Already exhausted, he stops and asks Mujilan why she is chasing him. Mujilan demands explanations from Si Jin about what he just did in the exam. Si Jin turns his back on Mujilan again, trying to avoid her. He asks Mujilan to continue the conversation the next day. The princess is indignant with Si Jin for trying to avoid her. Then Mujilan, realizing she won't get anything out of Si Jin, makes a brusque gesture of irritation. To get out of the situation, Si Jin tells Mujilan that there will be a big sales event with promotions at a nearby store. The store in question is crowded due to the big promotions. Trying to approach the stores, the two are squeezed in the crowd, and Si-jin is surprised that Mu-jilan accompanies him. Princess Mu-jilan tells Si-jin that her parents are not rich even though she is a princess. She asks Si-jin to treat her like a normal girl, and at that moment, someone bumps into Mu-jilan. With a push, Mu-jilan falls into Si-jin's arms. Unintentionally, she rubs her chest against the young apprentice's chest. The young boy is unsettled by the situation, which he finds very pleasing. Mu-jilan apologizes to Si-jin, but he says it's okay. Finally, Si-jin and Mu-jilan manage to reach the store and request some materials to buy. The princess picks up a little lamb in her hands. The little lamb in Mu-jilan's hands starts bringing back memories of where her parents live. At that moment, Si-jin appears with a pig mask, making jokes for the princess. Mu-jilan becomes very enthusiastic about the memories the little lamb brings of the sheep where she lived. Then the princess continues to recall happy moments from her childhood where she was raised. For a moment, Mu-jilan forgets the problems and tells Si-jin about the memories she had. The princess has a happy expression on her face due to her joyful memories. And then something unusual happens to her. She decides to return the little lamb to the seller, claiming she needs to focus on her goals. Si-jin asks Mu-jilan why she won't keep the little lamb, and she comments that the money is not hers but the people's. Then the princess quickly leaves the place, calling Si-jin to move on. Si-jin stands still and soon gets an idea. The young boy, suffocating under the weight of the purchases, tries to pretend they are not heavy. The princess advises Si-jin to stop and rest for a while, knowing the bags are heavy and Si-jin is tired. Then the two sit on a log, exhausted. Mu-jilan again starts to recall where she lives. Then the princess is indignant, knowing she will have to marry someone rich and strong to save her country, which is very poor and weak. The princess, deep in thought, remembers that there is still a chance to reverse this story by becoming a spiritual deity. At that moment, the princess is startled by a noise coming from one of the bags Si-jin was holding. Then Si-jin takes the little lamb out of the bag, surprising Mu-jilan. Si-jin tells Mu-jilan that from now on she can always count on him. The princess takes the little lamb in her hands and is speechless. Then the young lady becomes very emotional upon receiving the little lamb from Si-jin. The princess finds a way to hide her emotions so that Si-jin does not notice by hugging the little lamb. At this moment, Princess Mu-jilan tells Si-jin that he can always count on her as well. Now rested, the princess stands up. She points at Si-jin, calling him by his name, and he is surprised, not understanding what is happening. Then, unexpectedly, she challenges Si-jin to a duel. Si-jin is very surprised by Mu-jilan's unexpected challenge. The young boy is at a loss, not knowing what to respond to Mu-jilan. He tries to find a way out of the situation without embarrassing himself, saying it's already late. Then Mu-jilan, in a loud voice, tells Si-jin that no one will see except for a professor who will serve as a witness and will soon arrive at the location. Now at the training academy, the invited professor to witness is curious to know who the two duelists are at that time of night. Upon seeing them, the professor is surprised. In their presence, the professor comments that the fight will be very interesting knowing who they are. The professor recalls hearing rumors that the two present are the same ones who defeated the level 5 demon. Si-jin, still wanting to avoid the fight and the embarrassment, asks the professor if he can refuse the duel. The professor tells Si-jin that there will be no punishment if he backs out, but it will be very shameful for him not to accept the duel against Mu-jilan. Then the professor tells Si-jin that this duel will be very interesting, and if he refuses, Mu-jilan will still end up hitting him. The young Si-jin, desperate and indignant, asks Mu-jilan why she wants to fight him when he is a beginner. Then the princess sarcastically questions him about his potential. She reinforces that she is sure Si-jin is hiding his real identity, and that he is actually the strongest among the students. Then an unexpected gust of wind starts to arise among the trees where they are. The princess is enthusiastic knowing she will fight someone so strong. Then the wind in the area grows stronger, and Si-jin suspects that these winds are caused by the princess due to her spiritual power. The professor recalls that Mu-jilan has wind attribute abilities. He also remembers that these are spiritual powers like fire, thunder, and ice, and that wind is the weakest. The professor recalls that it was said the princess could be a spiritual general, and when she attacked the level 5 monster, she didn't cause much damage. At this moment, a wind blade appears. The wind blade strikes Si-jin's arm, causing a large cut on the young apprentice's arm. Si-jin wonders what happened, looking puzzled at Mu-jilan. The professor reinforces that almost no cultivator uses the wind attribute technique, but it is very effective if used correctly. At this moment, Si-jin jumps to defend himself from another wind blade coming his way. The princess projects several wind attacks towards Si-jin. Our protagonist creates a shield to defend against Mu-jilan's attacks. Si-jin is cornered, not knowing what to do to avoid being hit again. The princess is irritated that Si Jin is not attacking and is only dodging her attacks. At this moment, Si Jin appears, dodging Mu Jilan's attacks, and the princess is puzzled, not knowing what the young man will use to defend himself. Our protagonist remembers that he promised the elder master not to cause trouble, but he has a new surprise. Then he is frightened, realizing that Mu Jilan is about to perform a new attack. Mu Jilan takes action, noticing that Si Jin is approaching, and she launches her dragon cyclone magic towards the young disciple. Si Jin is terrified to see the cyclone coming his way. He asks Mu Jilan if she isn't overdoing it in the combat. The professor reinforces that even though Mu Jilan is a spiritual general, she just used a technique used by higher-level cultivators. Then the professor finally discovers Mu Jilan's strategy. He discovers that the dragon cyclone is just a distraction with no real power so that she can use her true strength. The professor admires Mu Jilan's strategy. Then Mu Jilan shoots a wind arrow at Si Jin through the dragon cyclone. Si Jin sees a light forming within the cyclone. The young man is terrified, not knowing what it really is. Then a great explosion occurs. And finally, we can see what actually happened. At this moment, Si Jin's shadow appears, holding something strange. And to everyone's surprise, Si Jin appears holding a sword. It's indeed a very sharp blade. Then Si Jin emerges, cutting the wind blades with his sword. The professor, who is witnessing the duel, becomes very enthusiastic seeing what is happening. Si Jin begins to defend himself against Mu Jilan's strikes using his sword. Princess Mu Jilan is intrigued to see that Si Jin is only defending himself with a sword and not using his magical powers. And she becomes irritated, feeling that Si Jin is underestimating her. Si Jin tells Mu Jilan that he already knows her attack moves. The young boy tells the princess that he will block all her unpredictable wind attacks with just his sword. Our protagonist seems very confident with his sword to defend against Mu Jilan's attacks. Then he starts cutting the wind blades one by one with great agility. Our protagonist cuts the blades without much difficulty. The boy truly has great skill with the sword, easily eliminating all of Mu Jilan's attacks. The professor is amazed, remembering that it is the first time he has seen someone using a sword against wind attribute attacks. Si Jin appears very confident. The young disciple shows that he is willing to block any attack Mu Jilan uses against him. At this moment, Si Jin starts to remember how he acquired his sword skills. He recalls being very enthusiastic at the time. The boy remembers his father running his hand along the blade of the sword, saying that the sword is an extension of the body, and also explaining the main techniques of sword handling. Si Jin enthusiastically asks his father to start the training right away. Then his father tells the boy that in practice, it is just that, and the boy is left stunned, thinking it would be something extraordinary. He believed that his father was very weak and didn't really know how to handle a sword. Then Si Jin becomes indignant, thinking that his father won't teach him anything and that he will have to learn sword handling on his own again. Si Jin's father asks him if everything is ready to start practicing. And at that moment, the father charges at the boy, launching a surprise attack, giving the young disciple no chance to defend himself. Then Si Jin appears, fallen and sitting, full of wounds all over his body, believing his father is crazy for attacking him that way. Si Jin's mother quickly appears to assist the boy, yelling at his father in desperation, while the father apologizes for taking it too seriously. Si Jin recalls that he started practicing fencing at just 6 years old, and has been practicing for 10 years, and that because of this, he developed a great passion for physical battles. He also remembers that eventually he was no longer intimidated by his father during sword training. The young disciple reinforces that thanks to his father's rigorous sword training, the princess's wind magic didn't scare him. Then he decides to take action against Mu Jilan's attacks. The boy leaps with his sword in hand towards the wind blades. He generates aggressive attacks with the sword, eliminating all the blades with a single strike. Then he prepares to leap towards Mu Jilan. At this moment, Si Jin appears above Mu Jilan, ready to perform an attack with his sword, and Mu Jilan prepares for a counterattack. She summons a great level 5 wind spirit to counter Si Jin's attacks. The professor is enthusiastic to witness that incredible fight and wonders who will win. Then he takes an unexpected action and decides to stop the fight at that moment before something worse happens. At this moment, Si Jin decides to summon a level 1 spirit to execute his attack. Then he quickly launches the attack with his sword. The professor is stunned, not knowing what will really happen. Si Jin launches his level 1 attack against Mu Jilan's level 5 attack. The attacks collide, generating a great magical explosion. And something unexpected happens to Si Jin's sword. The sword begins to break into pieces. Indeed, this is unexpected. Si Jin's sword cannot withstand the force of Mu Jilan's magic and shatters into pieces. Likewise, Mu Jilan's hairpin also begins to crack, and Mu Jilan seems very surprised by the situation. Then the princess plants her feet on the ground to do something surprising. Our protagonist tells Mujilan that the fight is over and that it ended in a draw. At that moment, Mujilan performs a surprise attack, hitting Si Jin's chin with her head, knocking him out. Then the professor declares Mujilan the winner for knocking Si Jin out with her surprise headbutt. After waking up, Si Jin is indignant with Mujilan, claiming that she cheated in the fight. The princess tells Si Jin that in a battle, anything goes and that he should be more careful. Then Mujilan quickly leaves, telling Si Jin to stop thinking about the fight and that she emerged victorious. Si Jin is indignant that Mujilan ran off after the fight, and the professor tells Si Jin that if she had lost, she would have to marry him. At that moment, Si Jin understands why Mujilan used the headbutt to defeat him. The professor reinforces to Si Jin that if he had won, he might now be marrying the princess. Then the professor reminds Si Jin of his importance at the academy, and that it is too early for him to think about relationships. The next morning at the academy, Mujilan arrives, and Si Jin greets her, asking to go to class together, and she agrees. The two head toward the classroom. Mujilan tells Si Jin that she is impressed that he has learned sword techniques and emphasizes that she has not yet put in enough effort. Some students, seeing Mujilan and Si Jin walking together, comment that the two are in a relationship. Si Jin pretends not to hear what the students are saying. Then Mujilan asks him if he doesn't care when people say something about him. The young boy responds to Mujilan that what they say about him doesn't matter because they are insignificant people compared to him. Mujilan sarcastically comments that just looking at Si Jin makes her want to hit him. Then something unexpected happens. At that moment, a student appears, holding Lingbo's arm, ordering her to bow before him. Lingbo asks Gao Chun to stop bullying people because it is a school. Si Jin comments to Mujilan that Lingbo is from their class and that she is in trouble. Lin Yun comments that Lingbo's family is a branch of Gao Chen's family. He emphasizes that Gao Chen's father is a master swordsman and that Lingbo's father is very ill, which is why Gao Chen has resumed bullying Lingbo. Then Lin Yun explains to Si Jin that the relationships among the nobles in the capital are very complicated and that if he wants to help the girl, he is free to do so. The princess asks Lin Yun why he is so excited, and Si Jin prepares to defend Lingbo. At that moment, Si Jin orders Gao Chen's family to stop bothering Lingbo because it is very shameful due to her being a girl. Then Gao Chen, looking at Si Jin, says not to interfere because otherwise, he will be in trouble just like Lingbo. Some students comment on the commotion and emphasize that Si Jin doesn't stand a chance against Gao Chen, and Gao Chen orders him once again to leave. Our protagonist, very confident, tells Gao Chen to take his hands off Lingbo, or he will break them. Then Gao Chen, accepting Si Jin's provocation, asks Lin Yun if he will interfere in the fight. Lin Yun calmly reassures Gao Chen that he will not interfere as long as no confusion is caused, and so Gao Chen and his relatives feel more confident to attack Si Jin. Si Jin shows that he is not afraid and that he doesn't need Lin Yun's help to defend himself. At that moment, Gao Chen and his family rush towards Si Jin to attack him with their magic. Then Si Jin appears very confident, not worried about what will happen even when facing 2 spiritual masters and 3 in the spiritual realm. Si Jin plants his feet on the ground to begin his defense. Then, before his attackers get close, he generates a level 1 frost spiritual attack on the ground, and all the attackers start slipping on the ice. Once again, Si Jin launches a level 1 fire spiritual art against the attackers. At this moment, everyone is scared, not knowing what is happening. Gao Chen mocks Si Jin, saying that the fire power he launched doesn't even burn his hair. Si Jin sarcastically explains that the intention was never to burn them but to turn the thin ice into water. The young man, knowing the properties of water, asks if they knew that water is an excellent conductor. Then the attackers start wondering what the word conductor means. And before the attackers can get out of the water, Si Jin launches a level 2 electric shock spiritual power towards the water. To the attackers' surprise, when the electric shock comes into contact with the water, everyone starts receiving an electric shock. Then Si Jin mocks Gao Chen, who is lying on the ground already unconscious, saying that he doesn't even need to use much force against them, just wisdom. Then all the students start wondering how this happened, how one person defeated 5 people, even with 2 being spiritual masters. The attackers, still weak and lying on the ground, wonder how Si Jin was able to accomplish such a feat. Si Jin seems very proud of what he just did. At that moment, Gao Chen appears very irritated. Gao Chen shouts from a distance at Lin Yun, asking how he dares to let Si Jin bother him. Lin Yun emphasizes to Gao Chen that the matter has nothing to do with him, but with Si Jin. Then Lin Yun asks Gao Chen if he really wants to be finished off even after losing to Si Jin. Gao Chen is intrigued, not knowing what Lin Yun intends. Then Gao Chen bumps into Si Jin and looks at him with an intimidating gaze. Lingbo thanks Si Jin for defending her. Then Gao Chen arrogantly says that this time Lingbo is free, but next time there will be no mercy. Si Jin once again intervenes, asking if Gao Chen hasn't had enough of getting beaten. Lingbo puts her hand on Si Jin's shoulder, asking him to step aside, thanking him for helping her, and saying that he is a good person, and she emphasizes that the fight with Gao Chen is hers, and she will resolve it, starting to spin her sword in her hand. Lingbo holds her sword tightly, indicating that she will perform an attack against Gao Chen. Then she yells at Gao Chen, saying she wants to fight him while holding her sword. Gao Chen is intrigued, not knowing what will really happen. The arrogant boy seems very uncomfortable with Lingbo's attitude. Probably, Gao Chen will take some action against Lingbo. Then Gao Chen says that Lingbo's father has embarrassed his family many times, and Gao Chen prepares to start attacking Lingbo. Lin Yun shouts to Si Jin and Lingbo to be careful with Gao Chen's magic. At that moment, Gao Chen rushes at Lingbo, performing a powerful attack. Si Jin is outraged to see Gao Chen attacking Lingbo by surprise, considering she is a girl. Then Lin Yun and Mu Jilan are intrigued, not knowing what will really happen next. Princess Mu Jilan comments on Lingbo's stance, saying she might be a very powerful swordswoman. Mu Jilan states that Lingbo is much more powerful than Gao Chen. Then Lingbo launches her counterattack against Gao Chen. When the attacks collide, they generate a great explosion of yellow light. Gao Chen appears scared, not knowing what is happening. Then Lingbo leaps into the air. The young swordswoman heads towards Gao Chen with her sword. Gao Chen quickly creates magic to defend against Lingbo's attack. But Lingbo is determined to defeat him. After Lingbo's attack, the arrogant Gao Chen looks at her in astonishment. Then Lingbo quickly positions herself and launches another powerful attack against Gao Chen. So Gao Chen finds himself unsure of what to do to defend against Lingbo's attack. And a very powerful magic arises between them, intriguing Gao Chen and Lingbo not knowing where it comes from. The magic begins to grow larger between them, causing them to distance themselves. At that moment, Si Jin realizes that the magic is aimed at Lingbo, so he decides to quickly run towards her. The young boy reaches out to help her, and without hesitation, our protagonist grabs Lingbo to defend her from the magic. Already holding Lingbo in his arms, he firmly plants his feet on the ground. Then Si Jin is intrigued, wanting to know who attacked Lingbo. At that moment, a mysterious man appears. Si Jin asserts that this mysterious man is trying to finish off Lingbo. And once again, Si Jin defends Lingbo from another attack by the old man. At this moment, he is certain that the old man is trying to harm Lingbo recklessly. So Si Jin asks to borrow Lingbo's sword, saying that his is broken. The young disciple, using Lingbo's sword, begins to create strong winds to push away the old man's magic. Then the flames begin to grow larger, becoming stronger and impossible to contain. The old man mocks Si Jin as he tries to extinguish his magic. At this moment, the old man continues to demonstrate his power, putting more strength into his magic against Si Jin. So Si Jin uses an unusual method again to defend himself. Once again, he has a grenade to throw at his attacker. Taking advantage of the fact that the old man's magic is covering every angle, he throws a grenade at him. And at that moment, a large explosion occurs because of the grenade. Then Si Jin appears holding the weakened Lingbo in his arms. Princess Mu Jilan and Lin Yun run towards them, asking if they are alright. Si Jin informs Mu Jilan that he is fine, but the shock from the explosion caused Lingbo to faint. At this moment, Lin Yun turns to the old man and asks what he intends with these attacks against the academy's students. The mysterious man explains to Lin Yun that he is merely teaching a lesson to the unruly students as he is responsible for the academy's discipline. Then Si Jin asks Lin Yun who the old man is, and Lin Yun responds that he is Gao Qijin, Gao Chen's uncle and responsible for disciplining the students. Si Jin is intrigued to realize that Gao Qijin is so willing to harm them, and wonders if he should return to the mountain. Then the young disciple questions Gao Qijin about his actions against the students, considering that he is responsible for their discipline. And Gao Qijin becomes very angry at Si Jin's question. At this moment, some students comment that it makes sense for Gao Qijin to be Gao Chen's uncle considering his actions, and they wonder if they should report what happened, but they are afraid of causing problems. Then Gao Chen calls his uncle, and he responds that there is nothing for Gao Chen to do there at that moment, but to go to his class. Si Jin questions the spiritual king and current school teacher about his actions towards his nephew, saying that he should discipline him. At this moment, some students who are witnessing what is happening comment on Si Jin's true identity. To avoid Si Jin's accusations, the spiritual king responds that he was just doing his duty as a teacher by separating the fight between his nephew and Lingbo. And Si Jin emphasizes that everyone noticed that Gao Qijin was willing to harm Lingbo rather than separate the battle. Then Gao Qijin becomes very angry with Si Jin because of his accusations and says that he could finish him off without much difficulty. Very confidently near his uncle, Gao Chen taunts Si Jin, saying that next time he will teach him manners. Si Jin, with a sarcastic look, asks Gao Chen what he means by next time. And at that moment, Si Jin launches several attacks against Gao Qijin. Gao Qijin, very annoyed and confident in his power, blocks Si Jin's attacks without much difficulty, and Si Jin continues to attack relentlessly. At that moment, Gao Qijin, who was very confident, is surprised by Si Jin's magic piercing his barrier. He becomes even more intrigued because Si Jin is just a beginner in the training academy and cannot contain the attacks of the young boy. Gao Chen becomes desperate, fearing that his uncle might be injured. Then Si Jin, consumed by hatred, rushes at Gao Chen with his sword. Gao Chen finds himself in trouble and becomes stunned. Si Jin then delivers a fatal blow with his sword to Gao Chen, who begins to fall afterward. Taking advantage of Si Jin's distraction, Gao Qijin cowardly attacks him, but Si Jin is alert. Si Jin quickly turns, hurling his grenades at the elder and Gao Qijin casting his powerful magic at the young boy. However, before the grenades could explode, something surprising happens. Someone reaches out to grab the grenades. Then the elder master appears, holding the grenades, aware of their power. Gao Qijin is startled by the situation. At that moment, the elder master seizes Gao Qijin's fist, blocking his magic. The academy director asserts to Gao Qijin that he has crossed the line. The spiritual king attempts to explain himself to the director, and the director reprimands him again for his actions, reminding him that he was a close friend of his grandfather and therefore would not overlook what he had just done. Gao Qijin apologizes to the director. At this moment, the elder master calls Si Jin over to talk. Si Jin asks his friends to take care of Lingbo. The young princess worries about what will happen to Si Jin. The elder master orders Gao Chen to return home and await notification of when the school will reopen. Gao Chen, very irritated, calls out to Si Jin. Si Jin, standing near the elder master, taunts Gao Chen. Gao Chen and his uncle, seemingly defeated, are unsure of what will happen next. Concerned for his nephew, Gao Qijin asks how he is. The arrogant nephew Gao Chen tells his uncle he's fine and apologizes for involving him in the argument. His uncle orders Gao Chen to go home and recover so they can retaliate against Si Jin. At this moment, Si Jin is accompanying the elder master to his office. The elder master shows great interest in Si Jin's devices and asks to study them. Intrigued, Si Jin asks the director not to disclose his secret devices. At this moment, the elder master questions Si Jin about how he intended to evade Gao Qijin's attacks despite having the devices. The young disciple responds that he was certain Gao Qijin was determined to go all the way, but he was merely defending himself on instinct. Then the elder master again questions Si Jin about risking his own life for others. Curious, the director circles Si Jin, wondering how someone like him can exist. Si Jin decides to tell the truth to the director. Before Si Jin can speak, the director asks why he was defending Lingbo. And once again, another member of the academy asks Si Jin if he plans to start a harem. Si Jin tells the master that he can't stand by when someone is suffering. Intrigued, the elder master asks Si Jin if he will put himself in danger again. So Si Jin explains to the director that he used to be someone who suffered a lot in the past. The reincarnated boy recalls how unjust life was, seeing cowardly people taking advantage of the weak, who ended up isolating themselves in a virtual world. And finally, our protagonist realizes the real reason for his rebirth. He decides he will do what's right and not give in to wrongdoing, becoming stronger each time to defend the weaker ones. Then our young disciple declares he will become a spiritual deity like his parents. Our protagonist feels tired and as if he has some disorder just because he has to go to school. He asserts that this happy new life of going to school, making friends, and falling in love has nothing to do with him. At this moment, the elder master reminds Si Jin that he has a status to uphold due to his family, and must avoid trouble. Si Jin gets irritated with the elder master for once again ordering him to stay out of trouble. But Si Jin remembers it's very important to be at school to learn more about techniques, and to maintain a balance between strength and weakness. So our protagonist believes he's equal to the strongest students in school due to his experience in games in his past life. The young boy wonders if this is the level befitting a child of two spiritual deities. However, he also believes he is not yet ready. So Si Jin is uncertain whether to focus on improving his strength or acquiring new explosive weapons. The young apprentice remembers that his weapons from his past life are very powerful in combat, but he knows it's like cheating. Then, in thought, the young disciple recalls that he must practice a lot while young, and at that moment someone calls him. However, because he is focused on his thoughts, he doesn't hear. Si Jin starts laughing to himself, remembering his thoughts about both his current and past lives. At that moment, a girl appears calling his name. This girl is Huai, who introduces herself as his classmate. Si Jin apologizes to Huai, saying he didn't hear her because he was lost in thought. Huai tells Si Jin that she heard about his deeds against Gao Qijin, thinking he must be a terrible person. Already overwhelmed by the day, Si-jin asks Hwa-yi if she needs something. Hwa-yi glances at Si-jin as if she wants to ask something. Si-jin wonders if Hwa-yi is also interested in him. Then, Hwa-yi tells Si-jin that she has a letter to give him. Si-jin is startled to receive the letter, certain it's the legendary love letter. The young girl, a bit shy, asks Si-jin if he won't accept the letter. Si-jin extends his hand and accepts the letter gratefully, thanking Hwa-yi. She then bids farewell to our protagonist, saying she will leave, leaving him in a daze. The young boy is all excited to realize there are many beautiful women in his class. Then, someone approaches Si-jin, asking if he's thinking about how many beautiful women there are in his class. And startled, Si-jin sees it's the teacher asking him this question. Then the same teacher reminds Si-jin that the letter may not necessarily be a love letter, but another challenge that could bring him more trouble. Si-jin decides to see what's in the letter. So the young boy heads to the medical center as per the invitation in the letter. And he is greeted by Hwa-yi, who is very excited that he accepted the invitation. Si-jin asks Hwa-yi why she is at the medical center, and she explains it houses spiritual healing arts, which is why she works there. Excited, Hwa-yi asks Si-jin to come inside. Upon entering the room, Si-jin finds Lingbo recovering in bed. Lingbo asks Si-jin to find a chair and sit because Hwa-yi won't let her leave the bed. Si-jin insists it's not a problem and he's perfectly fine standing, telling her she needs to take care to recover quickly. Then Lingbo compliments Si-jin's sword skills but reminds him that he lost his sword. Lingbo decides to gift Si-jin with a new sword that suits him, the famous demonic sword of forgetfulness. Si-jin wonders what kind of sword this is with such a frightening name. Lingbo asks Si-jin not to be afraid. Despite the intimidating name, the sword poses no danger to its wielder. Intrigued, Si-jin asks Lingbo why the sword has that name. Lingbo explains that so far, no one has been able to wield the sword effectively, which is probably why it's named so. The young swordswoman assures Si-jin she's willing to give him the sword because he saved her and believes in his potential. She recalls how our protagonist borrowed her sword to save her from Gao Qijin. Lingbo also remembers there was no fear on Si-jin's face when he was attacked by the old man. She also notes that Si-jin wasn't calm and cautious, nor was he risking his life, but rather had isolated himself from the world. The young swordswoman asks Si-jin not to be angry with her. She was just interpreting the situation. And so Si-jin understands why Lingbo offered him the demonic sword. Lingbo invites Si-jin to visit her house the next day to see the sword. Si-jin leaves the medical center, thoughtful and eager to meet the famous forgetfulness sword. Hwa-yi questions Lingbo if it's right to give the sword she received from her father to Si-jin, and Lingbo believes it's fate. Si-jin walks apprehensively through the next day. The young swordswoman gets furious with Hwa-yi for implying that the meeting between Lingbo and Si-jin was destiny. Si-jin walks with hope that if the sword accepts him as its master, he can unleash its full power and swordsmanship. Our protagonist feels fascinated, imagining this is how a great player unfolds. The next day, Si-jin arrives at Lingbo's family dojo. The young disciple is amazed by the size of the dojo. Our protagonist is greeted by Lingbo at the entrance of her family's dojo. Si-jin asks Lingbo if she's feeling better. Lingbo thanks Si-jin for visiting her and emphasizes that because of him, she could leave the clinic, leaving Hwa-yi embarrassed. Finally, Si-jin realizes that Hwa-yi is accompanying Lingbo, and Hwa-yi takes the opportunity to praise Si-jin for saving her friend. Lingbo becomes very embarrassed by Hwa-yi's hallucinations about Si-jin being alone with her in a room at the swordswoman's house. The hostess quickly covers her friend's mouth, stopping her from making jokes. Si-jin is intrigued to see few apprentices in Lingbo's father's dojo and asks if it's a holiday. Then Lingbo explains to Si-jin that her father founded the dojo due to his excellent swordsmanship, but the family lacks status. She also explains that after her father fell ill and couldn't wield a sword, the attendance of apprentices at the dojo declined. At that moment, Lingbo's friend calls her attention. The host informs Si-jin that the sword is just ahead in the next room. Si-jin walks eagerly towards the sword. Then Si-jin finally comes face to face with a beautiful sword, believing it to be a Japanese sword, but it's a long Ning double-handed sword. Si-jin, very anxious, wonders what would happen if he were to pick up the sword at that moment. Without hesitation, the young disciple picks up the sword, and surprisingly, the sword communicates with him telekinetically. The sword then asks him if he knows how many generations of Apple phones exist in the modern world at that moment. And Si-jin, still not understanding what's happening, answers the sword. Maybe around 30. The young disciple seems very confused by what had just happened. And again, the sword speaks to Si-jin, saying it's very bored and he should talk to his brother. Si-jin is astonished, still unable to understand what's happening at that moment. The young disciple is at a loss with everything happening. Lingbo and Huai wonder if Si Jin is okay after he wielded the sword. At that moment, things get stranger as the sword starts asking several questions about his soul in Si Jin's mind. Frightened, Si Jin returns the sword to its original place. However, the sword is willing to ask Si Jin one more question. It also asks if he plans to collect women, and if that's his plan, the sword will follow him. Then Si Jin thanks Lingbo politely as he returns the sword to her. And surprisingly, the sword continues communicating with Si Jin, making him wonder if it works via Bluetooth with wireless communication. And Si Jin quietly leaves the room with the sword still talking in his mind. Then Si Jin asks Lingbo where her father got the sword, and the young swordswoman emphasizes that she doesn't know much about her father's history with that sword, and normally he didn't need to. At that moment, someone mocks Lingbo, telling her to call her father. Lingbo is intrigued, not knowing who is calling. And then, some swordsmen appear looking for trouble. The young swordswoman asks Si Jin to step back, as she will handle the situation. Si Jin is astonished by the situation and asks Lingbo if these challenges happen frequently in her father's dojo. The young apprentice wonders if these troublemakers are hired by Gao Qijin's family for revenge. Enraged, the young swordswoman accepts the challenge of the troublemakers. At that moment, Si Jin holds Lingbo's hand, asking her to wait. Si Jin believes the troublemakers are weak and were sent to test his powers. Then the three troublemakers feel offended and attack Si Jin and Lingbo with their swords. The young reincarnated man uses Lingbo's sword to confront the troublemakers, a fiery aura enveloping him. With great skill, Si Jin lands a precise blow on all three of them. Si Jin feels obligated to defend Lingbo's father's honor. The young swordswoman and healer are astounded by Si Jin's incredible power and swordsmanship skills. The young apprentice is indignant to realize the three troublemakers were very weak. Then Lingbo emphasizes that Si Jin must be very strong, not the troublemakers being weak, as he compares himself to spiritual masters. Si Jin agrees with Lingbo and recalls that if these troublemakers were from his time in the modern world, he would be in trouble. At that moment, our protagonist begins to slap one of the troublemakers to wake him up. The young disciple asks the troublemaker who sent them, and the man begs to be spared, saying it was the Gao Qijin family who paid them. Next, another man appears mocking Lingbo's family dojo. The young woman becomes very angry with the man calling her Lu Xiao and calling him a traitor. Then, with a cheeky look, Lu Xiao mocks Lingbo, stating he was her father's first disciple. In a tone of irony, Lu Xiao tells Lingbo that if they stay on the street, they can move into his wooden shed, and she will be his personal maid. Without a second thought, Si Jin attacks Lu Xiao for insulting Lingbo. Then Lu Xiao mocks Lingbo again, saying Si Jin is crazy to challenge him. With little difficulty, Lu Xiao blocks Si Jin's attack, breaking his sword. Si Jin then stands defenseless before Lu Xiao's sword pointed at his face. Confidently, Lu Xiao provokes Si Jin, asking if he still wants to continue trying to defeat him. Si Jin shows no fear even with Lu Xiao's sword close to his face. Then the young apprentice ironically tells Lu Xiao that he owes him a sword. At that moment, Si Jin remembers that the sword isn't his, but Lingbo had lent it to him. Lu Xiao is intrigued by Si Jin's reaction, not understanding what's happening. Then Lu Xiao starts laughing, saying he found Si Jin very interesting to be in such a dull place. Putting away his sword, Lu Xiao tells Si Jin that he was his father's first disciple and for some reason betrayed him. Then the young apprentice introduces himself to Lu Xiao, stating his name and his level in the Cultivation Academy. Lu Xiao informs Lingbo that no one will want to help her because she angered the Gao Qijin family and that she will have to participate in the Imperial Tournament. Lingbo is annoyed with Lu Xiao for coming to her father's dojo to discuss this. Then Lu Xiao mocks Lingbo again, telling her to ask her boyfriend to fight for her in the tournament. After saying that, Lu Xiao leaves the place, leaving the three puzzled. Next, it's the healer's turn to mock her friend for being in a relationship with Si Jin. Lingbo apologizes to Si Jin and asks him not to pay attention to Lu Xiao's filthy words. Embarrassed, the young apprentice apologizes to Lingbo for breaking yet another sword of hers. Then the young swordswoman reassures Si Jin, saying the sword wasn't that important even though it was of good quality. Still intrigued by Lu Xiao's sword, Si Jin asks Lingbo how that sword could be so sharp. The young swordswoman explains to Si Jin that that sword was her father's first sword and only the demon's sword could match it. Heartbroken, Lingbo asks Si Jin not to get involved in more trouble because of her. Then Lingbo tells Si Jin that the reason for bringing him to her father's dojo was for him to use the demon's sword against Lu Xiao's sword. She states it was a very selfish thought and asks both of them to leave because she needs to be alone. At that moment, Si Jin and Huai are puzzled by Lingbo's request but they respect it. One of the troublemakers reminds Si Jin that they are still waiting for his decision. With an intimidating air, Si Jin asks the troublemaker if they will continue sending people like them to bother the dojo. Then something surprising happens. The young disciple has a brilliant idea to tie the troublemakers to a pole as an example. Then Huai tells Si-jin that she needs a very important favor, and Si-jin says he already knows what it is. Si-jin reassures Huai that he won't leave Lingbo alone in any way. Embarrassed, Huai compliments the young apprentice, saying she almost fell for him, and Si-jin emphasizes that he hasn't met Lingbo's father yet. The young healer tells Si-jin that Lingbo's father has hardly received visitors for years. Then Huai realizes that Si-jin knows nothing about Lingbo's father's story and begins to tell him how he was gravely injured. She tells how Lingbo's father faced a wolf army alone and finished off the general of that army, but was badly injured. And Si-jin questions why Lingbo's father isn't treated as a hero for saving many people that day. Huai also tells Si-jin that Lingbo's father was blamed by the Gao Qijin family for letting the spirits damage the supply line. Then Huai excitedly asks what the young apprentice will do next. Our protagonist confidently states that he will destroy the Gao Qijin family. The next day at the training academy, the then teacher Gao Qijin is furious. He becomes very annoyed upon realizing that the young disciple is not in class. In the classroom, Lin Yun asks Huai where Si-jin is. The princess, very curious, watches what the two are talking about, and the young healer discreetly informs that she doesn't know where Si-jin is. Mu Jilan notices that Huai is hiding something and turns angrily, while Lin Yun is amazed by Si-jin's strong friendships. Back at Lingbo's father's dojo, she asks Si-jin if he's sure about taking the demon sword again. Then Si-jin reassures the young swordswoman that he feels good and confident with the sword in hand. Lingbo reinforces to Si-jin that everyone else who tried to take the sword felt unwell, but he takes the sword and reassures her. At that moment, Si-jin, now with the sword in hand, is intrigued as it isn't speaking to him. Our protagonist asks Lingbo to explain more details about the Imperial Tournament, and she begins to explain. The young swordswoman informs Si-jin that the tournament hasn't happened for years and is always held in the presence of the emperor. Lingbo also explains to Si-jin that the Imperial Tournament is where martial artists use their external qi in conjunction with their internal qi. Then Si-jin emphasizes that in the training school they only teach basic skills to the students. Lingbo agrees with Si-jin's statements but emphasizes that the cultivation of spiritual art has been completely altered by one person. Our young swordswoman recounts that thanks to this person's feats, almost everyone is now a spiritual artist, and for this reason, the Imperial Tournaments are a stage for martial artists. Very curious, Si-jin asks Lingbo who this person was after all. Then Lingbo indignantly asks Si-jin if he has no common sense. Our protagonist, all embarrassed, says it's his parents' fault. Lingbo recounts that this person was the first master of spiritual art, and the founder of the Royal Cultivation Academy. Intrigued, the young disciple begins to suspect the way this spiritual master acted. And at that moment, the demon sword speaks to him again, and tells Si-jin that this master was someone reincarnated like both of them. The sword also recalls that the great master had a saying that he was lonelier than fireworks. Mocking the great master, Si-jin tells the sword that he was probably from a past generation, and the sword gets annoyed with the boy. Lingbo, not understanding what was happening, asks Si-jin if he's okay or if the sword has already affected him. Si-jin, content in thought, talks to the sword, saying he thought they wouldn't talk anymore. At that moment, the young disciple tells Lingbo that he really wants to meet her father, and she asks him to accompany her. They then arrive where Lingbo's father is, and she calls out to him. Unexpectedly, Lingbo's father from inside the room states that he already knows why the boy is there and asks him to enter alone. Intrigued, Si-jin asks for permission to enter the room where the dojo owner is. Once inside the room, Lingbo's father asks the young disciple to close the door and inquires about his name. Then the young reincarnated boy turns to Lingbo's father, informing him his name is Si-jin and also mentioning that he is his daughter's classmate. Unexpectedly, Si-jin finds a shining blade directed at him. Our protagonist becomes frightened and unable to react. He then draws the demon's sword to defend himself. While attempting to defend himself, he sees the blade of light disappear in his direction, being certain that it was not a sword. Our boy finds the shadow of someone in a meditation position and is scared to see that this person has created an illusory sword with their mind. Then Lingbo's father praises Si-jin, saying that rarely would anyone feel the attack, let alone react to it. With a contented air, the father of the young swordswoman says that this time his daughter was lucky to encounter the son of a spiritual sword master. In an unexpected and aggressive manner, Lingbo's father asks Si-jin if he wants to be his son-in-law. And once again, he reinforces the question to Si-jin. Then the young disciple is taken aback by Lingbo's father's question. Next, Lingbo's father emphasizes that his mother was very beautiful and had great assets, emphasizing that his daughter will become a beautiful woman. At that moment, Si-jin emphasizes to Lingbo's father that this decision should be up to her about whom she will date or marry. Perceiving Si-jin's good character, Ling Bo's father is sure that his daughter will fall in love with him, and perhaps some girl from school has already fallen in love. Si Jin wonders what is wrong with Ling Bo's father, and the demon sword tells him that its owner is like that. Ironically, the father of the young swordswoman tells Si Jin that he should learn his secret sword skills, but he would have to be his son-in-law. And more ironically, the father of the girl affirms that Si Jin can call him his second father with laughter. Our protagonist, not understanding what is happening with the father of the girl, becomes completely disconcerted. Si Jin, convinced that he has already learned all the sword movements from his father, tells Ling Bo's father that he does not want to be his disciple. Then Ling Bo's father emphasizes that his moon heart flow, which only works with the demon's sword, is very interesting. And the prospective father-in-law of Si Jin begins to list several other movements with his moon heart flow using the demon's sword. He also emphasizes to Si Jin that his secret skills with the moon heart flow are much more interesting. At that moment, Si Jin quickly kneels at his feet, calling him father, and his future father-in-law mocks his father about sword handling. However, Si Jin emphasizes that his father taught him that skillless attacks are more powerful than any other skill. Then the dojo owner explains to Si Jin that he has achieved a higher level in sword movement skills. And the young boy reminds Ling Bo's father that the Imperial tournament will start the following week and asks if there is time for him to learn. Then, sarcastically, his future father-in-law says that if he doesn't sleep or eat, maybe he will manage to learn something useful. At that moment, the sword owner asks his companion how long the young disciple would take to learn something useful. The sword, responding to its master, says that the young boy would take at least a year, depending on his mental strength. In an unexpected manner, the sword takes control of the situation, performing magic. Si Jin becomes desperate, not knowing what is happening. At that moment, Si Jin and his sword are being teleported to another world. Already in a parallel universe, Si Jin wonders what happened, and the sword explains that it's a world in his subconscious. The sword also explains to the young boy that in this world, time passes differently than in reality, where a year can pass in a second. Then the young boy draws a comparison that this world is like the beginning of a movie, recalling his past life. The forgetfulness demon sword is happy to return to this world where everything happens differently. Unexpectedly, another person arrives in the world where the sword took the young disciple. This person is the father of the young swordswoman who questions Si Jin about the sword's statements regarding his past. Si Jin is amazed to see Mr. Ling also in that world. Then Mr. Ling emphasizes how impressive the sword is and that in this world, he can teach the young disciple in his peak physical condition. The young boy questions Mr. Ling why he didn't teach his daughter, and Mr. Ling responds that Ling Bo isn't strong enough to wield the sword. Unexpectedly, without giving Si Jin time, Master Mr. Ling starts the training by drawing his sword. Mr. Ling also informs Si Jin that even if he is finished off using the demon sword, he will be able to revive in this world. Then Si Jin becomes terrified by the situation, unsure if what Master Mr. Ling is saying is really true. Still indignant and very frightened, Si Jin asks the sword if what Mr. Ling said was indeed true. Our protagonist, furious with the sword, asks why it doesn't create a system like in video games where you press a button and learn everything quickly. Then Master Mr. Ling says that such a system is very stupid and that Si Jin should give his utmost to learn the skills. The demon sword informs Si Jin that such a system will not be possible to implement, and that he should respect the traditional way of learning skills. Hua Yi, concerned, asks Ling Bo if Si Jin is still inside with her father. Then Ling Bo, even more worried, confirms to Hua Yi that yes, and that it's already been 3 days. Very concerned about what might be happening, Ling Bo begins calling Si Jin's name. At that moment, Si Jin appears completely injured and finished, holding his sword. Then Master Mr. Ling says that Si Jin has rested enough, forcing him to revive. Our protagonist, coughing heavily, begins to show signs of life. At this moment, the young boy leans on his sword and asks it to heal him completely. Then, as if by magic, the boy begins to heal. Still healing, our boy starts to move. Now fully healed, Si Jin is certain that his father didn't go easy on him during sword training. Unexpectedly, our young boy points his sword at Ling Bo's father, asserting that he is fine and wants to continue training. Master Ling is impressed with the determination of the young disciple. Realizing he can fully heal, Si Jin becomes excited to continue his training. Then, Master Ling rises from where he was sitting to resume the teachings. Intrigued, Master Ling wonders if the young boy doesn't care about his life. Raising his sword, the dojo owner decides to change his training method. Now certain that Si Jin can withstand more powerful attacks, the master begins his training again. Master Ling decides to use one of his most powerful attacks against the young disciple to test him. The boy looks at his opponent in shock, not knowing what will happen next. At this moment, Master Ling prepares to launch his attack against the boy. Then, the wielder of the demonic sword asks Si Jin if he is ready to receive his most powerful attack. Once again, stunned by his master, our protagonist is left speechless. Si-jin watches as his opponent's attack comes toward him. Without giving his disciple time, the master begins his attacks. The attacks are so powerful that they start to shatter the stones around Si-jin. Without time to think, our protagonist begins to defend himself from the attacks. Then, our young apprentice starts to wonder what really happened. Si-jin looks around, confused. At this moment, our protagonist begins to study his master's attack movements. Master Ling appears in front of the young disciple, determined and committed to reaching the highest level of power. At this moment, Ling Bo's father prepares to launch another attack against the young disciple. While launching the attack, Master Ling asks Si-jin what he truly seeks in his heart. Seeing that he is about to be finished once again, Si-jin stands motionless and unresponsive. Then, he begins to wonder if he truly fears losing his life. Our protagonist recalls that, until then, it didn't matter to him whether he lived or died. Our young disciple begins to have flashbacks of his past life, remembering he was a worthless person. His memories bring back bad recollections of when his mother abandoned him. He can't even remember his parents' faces. Recalling the moment when his life was briefly paused, the young boy thinks it doesn't matter if he lives or not. With so many bad memories, our protagonist convinces himself that no one will miss him if he ceases to exist. Amidst so many memories, our young protagonist begins to recall his current life and his new friends. Then, the young boy, reflecting on his existence, begins to find meaning in his life. Unexpectedly, after so many memories and realizing that his life matters, the demonic sword finally ignites in his hands. Even more unpredictably, the young disciple blocks the powerful attack of Grand Master Ling. They stand face to face, Master Ling with a look of enthusiasm upon seeing the boy master the demonic sword of oblivion. After witnessing the young disciple master the sword, his master wonders if that really happened. As the swords clash, they emit incandescent lights of great power. After the young disciple manages to defend against his master's powerful attack, both remain still. However, turning to see the boy's condition, Ling observes that the young disciple is collapsing, exhausted. Then, the wielder of the demonic sword becomes excited, seeing that the boy finally managed to master his sword. At this moment, our protagonist appears lying on the ground, too weak to get up. Slowly, the young boy starts to rise, and at the same time, the sword informs him that he has been in a coma for a long time. Disoriented by the situation, our young boy doesn't understand what just happened. Now recovered, the young disciple asks the sword if the things he forgot are still in this world. Standing up, young Si-jin states that he needs to go somewhere. The demonic sword responds to our protagonist affirmatively, so the boy asks it to take them to a specific place. Our boy asks the sword to take them to his mother's house. Arriving there, the young disciple opens the door, unsure of what will happen. Opening the door, Si-jin confirms that he really wants to see his mother's face again. Upon opening the door of the house, the young disciple encounters something surprising. Unusually, our protagonist has a surprise that will make him very happy. Si-jin finds himself as a child, walking around in slippers, calling for his mother. Then the boy encounters a memory from his childhood, when his mother took care of him with great affection. Intrigued, the young man is left speechless by the situation. These are memories that the young disciple was likely blocking from his mind and did not want to remember. At this moment, his mother notices something strange. Our protagonist's mother quickly turns around, looking at the door where the young man was, but she sees nothing. Si-jin had quickly left before his mother could see him, questioning the sword about why he was able to see his mother's face. Si-jin, completely bewildered, is left without reaction after seeing his mother's face, and the sword informs him that he probably missed her a lot. Back in the real world, the sword asks if Si-jin is angry with it for simulating that moment. Surprisingly, Si-jin tells the sword that he is not, and thanks it for simulating that special moment in his memory. Leaving his master's room, Si-jin encounters his friends waiting for him outside the door. Our protagonist, with a happy demeanor, has experienced amazing things in that world. And a few days later, everyone is gathered to begin the Imperial Martial Arts Tournament. At this moment, Princess Mujilan appears, astonished by the number of people at the tournament. Si-jin's three friends are surprised by the large crowd at the tournament, and recall that it has been 10 years since the last one. Some competitors comment that this is a moment of great opportunity for martial artists to stand out. The young Lin Yun, Huai, and Princess Mujilan state that the competition will be very intense due to the number of masters present. At this moment, the young Huai points to the ring, indicating that it's Si-jin's turn to compete. Our protagonist is desperate as he has not fully recovered from the training for the tournament. His opponent recalls that the young disciple is a first-grade celebrity in the competition. Concerned about Si-jin, Princess Mujilan asks Lin Yun about his opponent. Lin Yun informs the princess that the fight will be difficult due to the opponent being very strong. Confidently, Si-jin's opponent decides to launch his attack. The veteran student of the school charges at Si-jin with his sword, certain that he will win easily. Will our protagonist be easily defeated? Unexpectedly, the young disciple blocks the veteran student's attack with just 2 fingers, mocking the boy. The opponent is astonished by what just happened. Enraged, the veteran student demands that Si-jin drop his sword. Sarcastically, Si-jin complies with the boy's order. With a look of intense anger, the veteran student prepares to make another, stronger attack. He then charges at Si-jin. Our protagonist remains static in the face of the boy's attack. Once again, with a sarcastic demeanor, our young disciple neutralizes his opponent's attack with just 2 fingers on his sword. Very intrigued by what just happened, the boy becomes desperate, asking Si-jin to fight him for real. However, our protagonist responds, asking the boy if he hasn't already been humiliated enough. Unexpectedly, the boy kneels before Si-jin, admitting defeat. Si-jin's friends are very intrigued, seeing that our boy managed to win the fight with little difficulty and humiliate his opponent. Our young healer, Huai, remembers that our protagonist had stripped the troublemakers in front of Ling Bo's father's dojo. At this moment, Gao Chun from the troublemakers family appears, declaring that he will not allow Ling Bo's family to become champions in the tournament. Then Lu Xiao tells Gao Chun that if Ling Bo's family performs well, they might restore their honor. Entering the room, a servant of the Gao Chun family informs him that Si-jin has defeated his opponent in the tournament. Very irritated, Gao Chun tells the servant that this information is irrelevant, and that he should not bring him such news anymore. Suspicious, Lu Xiao asks Gao Chun how many moves the young disciple made to win the fight. Gao Chun then becomes enraged by Lu Xiao's assumptions about our protagonist. And again, Lu Xiao, losing patience, asks how many moves the young disciple made to win the battle. Gao Chun is stunned when the servant responds that the young disciple made no moves and didn't even draw his sword. Furious, Gao Chun confronts the servant about his claims, and the servant replies that Si-jin used only 2 fingers. Very enraged, Gao Chun loses control and assaults his servant. Disconcerted by the situation, the young man from the Gao family becomes very angry, claiming that the opponent who lost to Si-jin disgraced the group. Reflective, Lu Xiao is certain that if Gao Chun hadn't been born into the Gao family, he would have had no future due to his temperament. Still in thought, Lu Xiao admires the young disciple and says he is worthy of being defeated by his sword. In the stands, Princess Mu Jilin waves to young Si-jin, informing him that his friends are present. Si-jin is very happy to see his friends in the stands. Admiring Si-jin's performance and strength, young Lin Yun praises him, stating that his opponent was greatly shaken after the fight. After the young disciple says that his opponent wasn't that strong, the princess becomes very annoyed with him. Then the young apprentice tries to reverse the situation by saying his opponent wasn't that weak either, but that he was just lucky. At this moment, young Lin Yun, a friend of Si-jin, says he is envious of the boy and asks if maybe he is the chosen one. Saying they will return to the dojo, young Lingbo says that Lu Xiao is a standout participant. Also saying goodbye, young Lin Yun informs his friends that he will have to leave. Now alone, our protagonist invites the princess to leave the tournament, and the present sun makes it a radiant day. With a happy demeanor, the young disciple reminds the princess that they hadn't seen each other in a long time. Intrigued, the princess states that Si-jin is always in trouble and recalls that she challenged him right after the classes began. Embarrassed, our protagonist apologizes to the princess for making her worry. Then Mu Jilin asks Si-jin not to lose the tournament. In the radiant sunlight, Si-jin assures the princess that he will be the winner of this tournament. At this moment, we are introduced to the famous empire. It appears to be a peaceful place. Inside the imperial castle, someone greets the emperor. The captain of the guards of the imperial capital informs the emperor that it is not appropriate for him to attend the imperial tournament personally. At this moment, we discover that the emperor is actually an empress, a beautiful empress. She states that the tournament will have no meaning without her. However, the captain of the empire, concerned for the empress's safety, expresses his opinion on her presence at the tournament. Suspicious, the empress reminds the captain that her family will be present to protect her. At this moment, the imperial captain is disconcerted when questioned about his loyalty. Then the imperial captain kneels before his empress, declaring he would never betray her. Satisfied, the empress orders the captain to leave. Eager to meet Siyi's son, our empress is excited to attend the tournament, wondering if the young disciple is handsome. Gao Chun appears very irritated to learn that the empress will attend the imperial tournament. Sarcastically, Lu Xiao mocks Gao Chun for his streak of bad luck, leaving the young man very irritated. Leaving the room, Gao Chun orders Lu Xiao to get rid of our protagonist if he encounters him. Apprehensive, Lu Xiao watches Gao Chun and his servant leave the area from a distance. Apparently, the former student of Ling Bo's father's dojo is pleased with the situation. Excited, Lu Xiao states that his heart is restless and happy to find an opponent worthy of him. At this moment, one of the tournament participants appears, walking with his weapon on his back in an alley alone. Unexpectedly, someone blocks the participant's path, who asks what the person wants. To our surprise, it is the young Lu Xiao, stating that he is there to finish him off. Aware of Lu Zhao's intentions, the participant draws his weapon to defend himself. Confident, the young man draws his black steel spear, certain that he will teach Lu Xiao a lesson. With an air of superiority, the young man charges forward, confident he will defeat him without much difficulty. However, with his sword in hand, Lu Xiao remains still, calmly waiting for the young man to approach. At this moment, the young tournament participant launches his attack with his spear. Unexpectedly, after being attacked, Lu Xiao appears, counting how many participants remain. Then we discover that his plan is to eliminate all participants except our protagonist. Desperate, young Lin Yun knocks on Si Jin's door, calling for him and saying he has urgent news. Not understanding what is happening, the young boy asks his friend what the news is, as it is still very early. His friend informs the boy that all the tournament participants, except him and Lu Xiao, that they were all eliminated during the previous night, and Si Jin is astonished by the information. The next day at Master Ling's dojo, the young disciple's friends are standing seriously in front of the dojo. Our protagonist arrives, asking what happened, and Princess Mujilan turns to the boy, happy that he has appeared. Unexpectedly, Ling Bo's father appears, stating that it was Lu Xiao who had committed such an act against the tournament participants. The Grand Master in swordsmanship tells the young disciple that Lu Xiao is genuinely interested in him. Intrigued by Ling Bo's father's statement, young Si Jin is astonished by the Grand Master's accusation. Once again, Master Ling asserts that it was all part of Lu Xiao's plan to reach the final stage against the young disciple. At this moment, Si Jin asks his master about Lu Xiao's intentions, and Master Ling states that the young man is insane but cautious. Intrigued, Ling Bo's father reminds Si Jin that his former disciple had defeated 14 masters in one night, and that he was determined to master the demonic sword. At this moment, the young princess questions what kind of person Lu Xiao is and what type of swordsmanship he is learning. Then Ling Bo's father informs them that young Lu Xiao is obsessed with swords and adds that after he betrayed the dojo, he challenged several masters. The Grand Master in swordsmanship states that Lu Xiao has likely already created his own sword style, advising Si Jin to be careful when fighting him. Intrigued, the young disciple asks Ling Bo's father what sword style he just mentioned. Unexpectedly, Gao Yuan, the captain of the Imperial Guard, appears, informing them that the demonic sword style is the swordsmanship of the third demon general. Respectfully, young Lin Yun greets the captain of the Imperial Guard, leaving Si Jin intrigued. Carefully, Si Jin's young friend informs him that the person before him is indeed the captain of the Imperial Guard. Then Gao Yuan thanks Si Jin for taking care of his son at the academy. Next, the young disciple questions Gao Yuan about how he will handle the situation with Lu Xiao, knowing he works for his family. Knowing that he should stop the tournament, the captain states that he will not take that action because the Empress wants to watch. At this moment, Master Ling sighs. He tells the young disciple not to dwell too much on Lu Xiao and instead focus on ensuring that Lu Xiao does not defeat him in battle. The young apprentice reassures his master, saying he will do his best. As he leaves, the captain of the Imperial Guard informs them that he will send a guardian to keep the young man safe. Concerned, young Si Jin's friends say goodbye, asking him to be careful. On a calm night with the moon in the sky, our protagonist appears peacefully resting, but the sword informs him that someone is nearby. Cautiously, Si Jin tells the sword that he had already sensed the intruder's presence. Then, stealthily, a hood appears in the window of the room where Si Jin is, and the boy is startled. Slowly, a person enters through his window. Si Jin becomes more and more astonished by the situation, not knowing what is happening. Completely surprised, the young disciple questions the intruder about their identity. As the intruder jumps through the window, they end up slipping. Then we finally see a young woman on the floor, complaining of pain. Very irritated, the young woman asks Si Jin why he isn't asleep, saying he scared her a lot. She then takes a step forward. Very excitedly, she asks if he is Si Jin, and the young boy responds yes, again asking about her identity. Friendly, the young woman tells the young disciple her name. Then Si Jin asks how she got past the guards, and she says it was easy, to which he sarcastically replies, reminding her that she had trouble entering through the window. Intrigued, the young woman reminds Si Jin that all the other participants were eliminated, and that someone invades his room, yet he remains calm. With a calm demeanor, Si Jin tells the young woman that he knows who eliminated the participants, and that he also knows it wasn't her. Sarcastically, the young woman questions how he can be so sure and claims she could be the one responsible for such actions. Confidently, Si Jin tells the young woman that it doesn't matter who did it, regardless of who it is, he is ready to fight. Impressed by the young disciple's self-confidence, the young woman becomes excited. At this moment, Lingling expresses admiration for the young man, saying he truly is the son of a spiritual deity. Disconcerted, our protagonist questions Lingling about her knowing his father and again asks about her true identity. Still enthusiastic, Lingling confirms that he is indeed Siyi's son and that he is just like his father. At this moment, Lingling kneels on the ground, leaning forward. The young woman gets closer and closer to the young disciple. Unexpectedly, Lingling holds our protagonist's face with a look of happiness, but she says he is not the same boy as always. With a sparkle in her eyes, the young woman seems to recognize the boy from another life. Then Lingling asks our protagonist what he is actually doing in this world. Our boy is confused by the situation, unsure of what is happening and suspecting that she knows him from somewhere else. The young boy, not having much to say, begins to try to explain himself somehow. At that moment, unexpectedly, the guards start shouting, saying there is an intruder in the area. Then the young woman bids farewell to Si-jin. While trying to escape through the window, the young woman slips on the wall, and the young disciple mocks Lingling. Very irritated, Lingling asks the young apprentice to help her, and sarcastically, he mocks the young woman's agility again. Lingling asks Si-jin not to take advantage of her while trying to help her. Finally, the young woman manages to jump out the window. She asks Si-jin not to tell anyone about her presence in his room. Already leaving the area, Lingling asks Si-jin to do his best in the tournament the next day. Not really understanding what happened, the young disciple wonders if that young woman belongs to a noble family. The next day, back at the Imperial tournament, everyone present at the tournament is intrigued by the situation concerning the other participants. Lingbo reminds Si-jin that his father asked him not to push himself too hard in the battle. At that moment, something catches our protagonist's attention. Then the judge calls Lu Xiao to start the battle. Lu Xiao is excited to finally be able to fight Si-jin. The young man from the Gao family appears very angry with the young disciple. At that moment, it is announced to everyone that Her Majesty, the Empress, is arriving. Then, as a sign of respect, everyone salutes the Empress. Still bowing before the Empress, Si-jin wonders if she is beautiful and remembers that he hasn't met her yet. With the Empress now present, Si-jin stands up to see her. Then the young disciple has a big surprise. He sees the same young woman who had invaded his room the previous night. Intrigued, our protagonist is left puzzled about what is truly happening. For her part, the Empress, with a sarcastic tone, asks Si-jin not to say anything, gesturing with her finger. Completely disconcerted by the situation, the young disciple asks his friend about the royal family's surname. Then young Lin Yun becomes very intrigued by Si-jin for not actually knowing the Empress's lineage. Our protagonist feels incompetent for not having common sense, stating that he needs lessons from his friend, young Lin Yun. At that moment, the captain of the Imperial Guard orders both competitors to step into the ring to begin the match. Without further ado, Si-jin and Lu Xiao enter the ring. Excited, Empress Lingling recalls hearing rumors that both are disciples of the Grand Master in swordsmanship, Ling Lai. The young Empress tells her captain that he should feel honored that the Ling family is a branch of the Gao family. Bowing to the Empress, the captain agrees that the Ling Xinlu dojo is a blessing to the country. With an irritated expression, Empress Lingling orders that regardless of who wins the tournament, the captain's family must never provoke the Ling dojo again. Once again, bowing to his Empress, the captain of the Imperial Guard agrees with Her Majesty's command. Back in the ring, Lu Xiao tells Si-jin that he never imagined he would be accepted by the Sword of Oblivion. Intrigued, our protagonist questions Lu Xiao about the cicada sound sword accepting him, and how he became a bad person. Sarcastically, Lu Xiao replies to the young disciple that if he defeats him, then he will have his answers. At that moment, the demonic sword catches Si-jin's attention, and the boy responds, saying he knows his responsibility. In defense mode, Si-jin grips his sword tightly. Lu Xiao, with a superior air, prepares to launch his attacks against Si-jin. Underestimated by Lu Xiao, Si-jin holds his sword without showing fear. Then, the much-anticipated battle between Lu Xiao and Si-jin begins with their powerful swords. Still very confident, Lu Xiao mocks Si-jin, saying he should call him brother since they were both trained by the same master. Knowing his current strength, the young disciple tells Lu Xiao to be careful and not underestimate him. Sarcastic and very confident, Lu Xiao prepares to launch a powerful attack against the young boy. At that moment, Lu Xiao launches the moonfall attack on the young disciple. Quickly, our protagonist dodges his opponent's sword attack. Our boy prepares to launch a counterattack against Lu Xiao. Then the young disciple unleashes the sword immersion attack with his demonic sword. Lu Xiao is thrilled to be fighting someone so strong. The blades clash, and the blade of the young boy's sword slides along the blade of his opponent's sword. With a superior air, the arrogant Lu Xiao decides it's time to speed up the battle. Then Lu Xiao begins to strike multiple blows with great agility against Si Jin, who defends against the attacks. Our protagonist friends, watching the battle from the stands, are amazed at the strength of both fighters in the ring. Both are impressed that there is no magic in the battle, yet the participants in the ring demonstrate such strength with their swords. Astonished by the display of strength from the young disciple and young Lu Xiao, everyone is shocked by what they are witnessing. Ling Bo is dazzled as she witnesses the purity of martial arts. The young swordswoman is excited to see a battle fought only with swords, where both attack and defend with their swords without using magic. Ling Bo emphasizes that the lives and victories of both are determined by their swords. After the young disciple and Lu Xiao engage in close combat with their swords, an explosion of power occurs between the two. Si Jin is thrown back due to the immense power of the explosion. Our protagonist is scared and surprised for having underestimated Lu Xiao because of his superior power. At that moment, the young disciple compares Lu Xiao's spiritual aura with his father's aura and Master Ling's, the owner of the demonic sword. Sarcastically, once again, Lu Xiao mocks the young boy, saying it's been a long time since he had so much fun in a fight. To avoid showing fear, Si Jin also mocks the situation. Having much fun in the battle, Lu Xiao sarcastically tells Si Jin that if he surrenders, he will spare him to have fun in the future. Joining in Lu Xiao's jest, Si Jin responds that if he surrenders, it won't be any fun because his goal is to defeat him. With a look of intent, Lu Xiao agrees with Si Jin. Then Lu Xiao snaps his fingers on his sword, commanding the sword to vibrate with his touch. At this moment, the demonic sword warns the young disciple to be careful when fighting against the cicada sound sword. Unexpectedly, Lu Xiao leaps towards Si Jin, initiating another attack with his sword against the young boy. The powerful sword of Lu Xiao, when attacking, emits a sound and a bright light. Our protagonist is caught off guard by the powerful attack from his opponent, and the demonic sword once again demands the boy's attention. Si Jin is very frightened to see that he was wounded by one of his opponent's sword attacks without even noticing. Demonstrating great agility, Lu Xiao delivers several rapid attacks against the young disciple. After being wounded again by his opponent's sword, Si Jin begins to understand how the cicada sound sword's attack works. Our boy realizes that the vacuum effect of the attacks is causing him injuries. Then Si Jin begins to study his opponent's attacks. The young disciple understands that the sword generates a second blade, invisible to the eyes but causing great damage. Still studying his opponent's movements, and with his sword very sharp, the young boy begins to understand its effects better. Studying the movements, our protagonist starts to be certain that the vacuum blade created by the sword is a delayed attack following the normal attack. So the young disciple begins to devise a defense plan against his opponent's powerful attacks. Based on his knowledge, the young boy starts to recall his training. Our protagonist begins to understand better how the attacks created by the cicada sound sword work. Si Jin starts to realize that since there is no way to break the enemy's defense, the sword wielder must become faster. Then finally, the boy understands that martial artists are determined to seek more power and speed at all times. These same studies about the attacks that Lu Xiao is executing had already been conducted by the first spiritual master of the sword. Trying to create a perfect sword based on his studies, the first spiritual master of the art decides to make the sword in question. Based on the studies of the first spiritual master of the sword, the spiritual master of the art advises him to use the sword's vacuum. Excited, the first spiritual master of the sword asks the first spiritual master of the art what kind of sword he will create. Based on the studies of the first spiritual master of the sword, the first spiritual master of the art states that he already has a sword in mind, and that the name of this sword will be the Cicada Sound Spiritual Sword. Returning to the Imperial Tournament where the battle between Lu Xiao and Si Jin is taking place. Observing the battle, the Imperial captain looks worried about the young disciple due to his opponent's great power. Having taken a liking to our protagonist, the Empress silently hopes he is not defeated in such an insignificant place. From the stands, his friends are concerned about the young disciple's situation as he faces such a powerful opponent. At this moment, our protagonist appears very worried about his current situation in the face of his opponent's attacks. Already badly injured, the young disciple continues to try to find the strength to defend against Lu Xiao's attacks. Confident and with an air of superiority, Lu Xiao is now certain that the young boy will not be able to defend himself against his blows. Not waiting for the boy to recover, Lu Xiao launches another powerful attack against the young disciple. Surprisingly, our protagonist quickly dodges the blow, launching a rapid counterattack against his opponent. Unexpectedly, the young disciple manages to strike Lu Xiao's face with his sword. Shocked, Lu Xiao quickly leaps back, outraged at being hit by Si Jin's sword. Now, not giving Lu Xiao time to recover, Si Jin quickly launches another attack against his opponent. Badly injured but confident, based on his quick studies of Lu Xiao's attacks, the young disciple delivers a powerful attack, using the teachings of Ling Bo's father on sword handling. At this moment, Lu Xiao defends against the demonic sword attacks, indignant upon realizing that Ling Bo's father taught the lunar flow to the boy. And quickly, Lu Xiao initiates a counterattack, using the cicada sound sword to perform the moonfall attack, shifting to stage 2 power of the cicada sound sword. Faced with such power, Si Jin asks the demonic sword if it can handle the situation, and the sword reassures him. Now more confident again, Si Jin executes the Maiden's Heart lunar flow attack. Immediately after, the young disciple, combining with the previous attack, also initiates the new moon attack against his opponent. Unexpectedly, our protagonist manages to get close to Lu Xiao while performing his combined attacks. Seeing the young boy so close, Lu Xiao panics, not understanding what is actually happening. Si Jin's friends, watching from the stands, are amazed by the boy's agility. Knowing the secret skills of Ling Bo's father, the Empress begins to understand the young disciple's attack plan. The Empress also notes that Lu Xiao has no knowledge of these skills. Detailing the young disciple's attacks, the Empress admires his movements so fast that Lu Xiao, when attacked, thinks the young disciple made no movement. Our Empress emphasizes that the young disciple executed the movement so quickly with his feet that it gave his opponent no chance. Movements so fast they go unnoticed by the eyes. Admiring the young disciple, the Empress states that by the time Lu Xiao realizes it, it will be too late to try to defend himself. Then the unexpected happens. Our protagonist finally manages to strike his opponent for real. Finally, the young disciple manages to pierce Lu Xiao's chest with his demonic sword. Afterward, the young boy's friend wonders if he has won the battle. From the stands, everyone is happy that the young disciple has defeated Lu Xiao. Coughing, Lu Xiao acknowledges that Ling Bo's father's secret swordsmanship is truly remarkable. Concerned about the situation, Si Jin asks his opponent not to move because the sword is very close to his heart. Charismatic, Lu Xiao says that if possible, he would like to stop the battle at that moment. However, Lu Xiao recalls that his soul had long been deteriorated by the cicada sound demonic sword. At this moment, the Empress appears very frightened by the situation, understanding what is really happening. The Empress is astonished to realize that Lu Xiao is infused with demonic qi, and the Imperial Captain orders the Imperial Guards to prepare for battle. Our young disciple is stunned to realize what is happening before his eyes. Already in a state of demonic transformation, Lu Xiao orders the sword to transform. Now overwhelmed by demonic qi, Lu Xiao's sword transforms into the phantasmal demonic sword. Then, an explosion of dark power occurs before the young disciple. Our protagonist is astonished by the situation. At this moment, the Sword of Oblivion reminds him that this is the spirit of the phantasmal sword of the third demon general, where the power is so strong that, without needing to strike, the master's opponents who wield the sword are defeated with little difficulty. At this moment, young Lin Yun appears, not knowing what to do in the face of the situation, ordering everyone to evacuate the area but also ordering those above level 4 to protect the common people during the evacuation. In a desperate act, Princess Mu Jilan quickly turns toward the ring. Desperate, she is about to launch an attack against Lu Xiao, but Lin Yun, the spiritual, orders her to stop. Irritated, she reminds Lin Yun that Si Jin is still in the ring, and Yun says there is nothing they can do but trust in Si Jin. Ling Bo wonders what is really happening, unable to understand what just occurred before her eyes. Our Empress begins to understand what is happening with the cicada sound sword and why Ling Bo's father could never wield it again. At this moment, the Imperial Captain advises the Empress to withdraw due to the present danger. Very irritated, the Empress tells her captain that she will deal with the situation with him later because his family hid what had happened. Knowing the facts, the Imperial Captain realizes he is in trouble. Irritated by the situation, the Imperial Captain orders Lu Xiao to surrender. Completely corrupted by demonic power, Lu Xiao mocks the captain. In his demonic state, Lu Xiao declares that he will make the Imperial Captain pay for the injustice done to Ling Bo's father. At this moment, confident, the Imperial Captain summons his spiritual powers, generating a powerful aura around him. Then, the entire area around the Imperial Captain becomes covered in a dense and very powerful aura. Our protagonist is amazed to see the size of the Imperial Captain's aura power. Immediately after, in his demonic state, Lu Xiao begins to use his powers. The demonic blades begin to entwine the soldiers who had been defeated. Then something unexpected happens. The soldiers start to take on strange forms. Unexpectedly, Lu Xiao appears covered in dark armor. Consumed by hatred and demonic qi, Lu Xiao no longer has control of the situation. In his demonic form, he orders the soldiers to eliminate anyone who stands in their way. Now possessed by the power of the phantasmal sword, the soldiers transform into skeletal warriors. Following Lu Xiao's orders, the soldiers begin to attack the remaining guards. Bravely, the Imperial Guards defend the castle. However, they begin to be defeated by the Dark Soldiers. One by one, the guards begin to fall. Irritated by the situation, the spiritual captain moves toward the ring where Lu Xiao is. Due to his enormous power, as he collides with the ground, the Imperial Captain generates a massive explosion of power. Then, the Imperial captain hears a cry for help from his son. Without thinking twice, he rushes to the boy, attacking the demonic soldier who was about to finish off the boy. Then the Imperial captain orders his son to leave the area immediately. In his demonic state, Lu Xiao is very irritated by the situation, seeing that the Imperial captain went to save his son and did not attack him immediately. Unexpectedly, Lu Xiao hears the young disciple ordering him not to attack his friends. Having taken a liking to Si Jin, Lu Xiao is impressed that the boy is still present. Si Jin doesn't understand what is really happening. Then Lu Xiao reassures the young disciple, saying he will not harm his friends because he is a good boy. At this moment, Si Jin's friends and others who were present at the tournament are seen leaving the area, concerned. Our protagonist questions Lu Xiao in his demonic state about why he is doing this when he seems like a good person. Lu Xiao emphasizes that being a good person is his oldest desire. However, being a demon is his destiny because, in his mind, there was always the desire to finish someone off. But Lu Xiao can't say if it was because the past war left a killer instinct in his soul. At this moment, the possessed young man wonders what really happened to his soul. Intrigued, the young disciple asks Lu Xiao if his intention in keeping the corrupted sword was to save Ling Bo's father's life. Lu Xiao replies that he greatly admires his former master, and that the corrupted demonic sword suits him better. Still puzzled by Lu Xiao's actions, Si Jin questions him again about why he is so violent. With an air of superiority, Lu Xiao tells Si Jin that if the young boy wants, he can be the last to be defeated by his sword while he is still human. Confident, Si Jin tells Lu Xiao that he will defeat him using Master Ling's swordsmanship. Showing no compassion, Lu Xiao challenges the young disciple to use all the power that Master Ling taught him. Then Lu Xiao begins to absorb a great deal of demonic power to start his attacks against Si Jin. Intrigued, the young boy seems to be looking for a weak point in his opponent. Without mercy, Lu Xiao charges at the young apprentice, adding a lot of power to a strike with the phantasmal demonic sword. Lu Xiao launches his powerful attack. Immediately after, the young boy prepares to defend against Lu Xiao's attack and counterattack. Then once again, the two begin a duel. Trying to defend himself from the many strikes delivered by Lu Xiao, several blows end up hitting the young disciple. At the same time, Si Jin continues analyzing the correct way to wield his sword. Then the young apprentice begins to reflect amidst the numerous attacks that hit him. Apparently, the young disciple is unable to block Lu Xiao's attacks. Tirelessly, our protagonist starts looking for the right move with his sword to survive. Our boy is determined to defeat his opponent, even though he is at such a high level. And finally, Si Jin finds a weak spot in the armor, believing that just below Lu Xiao's shoulder is where he should strike to wound him. Not giving Lu Xiao time to defend himself, the young disciple delivers a precise strike with his sword at the indicated spot. Then Lu Xiao is startled to see that he was hit by the young disciple. In his demonic form, Lu Xiao can't believe the young boy found a way to strike him. Lu Xiao admires Si Jin for being able to find a weak point in his sword moves in a matter of seconds. The former disciple of Master Ling believes the younger generation will surpass the older one. Then finally, Lu Xiao falls, defeated by Si Jin. Our boy quickly turns to see if Lu Xiao will really not get up. Intrigued to see that Lu Xiao has finally been defeated, the young apprentice feels more at ease. Our young boy hopes that the captain will take advantage of the weakened soldiers and finish them all off. Captain Gao is amazed to have witnessed the young apprentice defeat the possessed Lu Xiao. However, the captain seems to be planning something against the boy. Si Jin feels apprehensive, believing that Captain Gao will take the opportunity to plot against him. But surprisingly, the captain reassures Si Jin, praising him for handling Lu Xiao in his demonic form. Knowing that the Gao family is in trouble with the Empress due to the incident, Captain Gao believes they are doomed. At that moment, something surprising happens. Si Jin and Captain Gao are astonished to realize that the soldier lying on the ground defeated was not Lu Xiao. Identifying the person who was supposed to be Lu Xiao, the captain believes that the possessed one escaped by posing as an imperial soldier. Concluding that Lu Xiao fled, Captain Gao dismisses Si Jin, informing him that there is nothing more he can do. Thus, our boy bids farewell to the captain and leaves the area. Our young disciple turns and heads toward the exit. Then something unexpected happens. Captain Gao's son spots Si Jin and becomes very irritated. Gao Chen calls out Si Jin's name with an irritated tone. Threatening Si Jin, the boy declares that he will settle the score with our young swordsman in the future. Exhausted from so many problems, our protagonist appears dissatisfied with the provocations. Then Si Jin turns to Captain Gao's son, informing him that he should not cause more trouble and instead help his father. Gao Chen, very irritated by Si Jin's boldness, becomes increasingly furious. Taking advantage of being from the Gao family, the arrogant Gao Chen decides to attack Si Jin. But something unexpected happens. The Imperial guards surround Gao Chen, leaving him outraged by the situation. Unable to believe what just happened, Gao Chun falls to the ground. Returning to the Ling Shenlu dojo, we see Master Ling calmly smoking a type of cigarette outside his quarters. Then Master Ling unexpectedly orders whoever is hiding and watching him to appear because he already sensed their presence. At that moment, the possessed Lu Xiao emerges. Ashamed, Lu Xiao steps out from behind a pillar in the dojo, and Master Ling mocks the boy, saying he failed in his attempt to hide. Embarrassed, Lu Xiao informs Master Ling that he tried to learn new techniques to surpass him but was defeated by a young apprentice. Showing affection for Lu Xiao, the dojo master questions the boy about why he became possessed. Then Lu Xiao tells Master Ling that it was his choice and that he is willing to do anything, even fight against all humans. Certain of what he will do, young Lu Xiao informs Master Ling that he will go north to join the demons and that when they meet again, they will be enemies. With an air of dissatisfaction, because he likes the boy, Master Ling calls him a fool. Satisfied to have brought peace back to the Ling dojo, our young protagonist feels at ease. Everyone is on high alert due to Lu Xiao's disappearance. At this moment, Ling Bo and her father are receiving an honor from the Empire because Si Jin won the tournament on behalf of the Ling dojo. As a result of Si Jin's victory in the Imperial tournament, something unexpected begins to happen at the Ling dojo. Several new students begin to arrive, wanting to enroll in the dojo, inspired by the young disciple, which makes Ling Bo excited. While some celebrate, others isolate themselves due to the events at the Imperial tournament involving the Gao family. Gao Chun is being investigated but is under house arrest due to his actions against Si Jin with the support of the possessed Lu Xiao. Our young protagonist is feeling satisfied due to all the events. After the hard battle against the demon, our boy is resting and feeling a lot of muscle pain. Relaxing on a bed, our boy wonders if he will have to retake classes due to the time he has been away from the training school. At that moment, something unexpected happens. Si Jin hears a noise at his bedroom window. Then a hand appears over the window. Surprisingly, once again, the Empress is entering his room through the window. Calm and serene, already inside the room, the Empress dusts off her clothes. With a happy expression, the young Empress tells our disciple that she got there using her agility, and the boy mocks her. Quickly, the Empress moves toward the young boy who was resting, leaving him intrigued. Sarcastically, the Empress tells Si Jin to be careful with his words in her presence. Si Jin is flustered by the situation and apologizes. Our protagonist feels uncomfortable with the Empress once again in his room. Intrigued, Si Jin asks the Empress what she is doing in his room, and she replies that since he can't leave the bed, she wanted to see him. Smiling, the young disciple tells the Empress that the palace will probably be in chaos again when they notice her absence. However, the Empress gets annoyed with the boy, saying that if he keeps talking nonsense, the girls won't like him. Sarcastically, the young boy tells the Empress to give him a title so the girls will easily be interested in him. Annoyed by the boy's request, the Empress begins poking his head with her finger, saying he's moving too fast. Incredulous at the young disciple's requests, the Empress states that if he continues to be so petty, the girls won't like him. Embarrassed by the situation, the young apprentice asks the Empress not to be so harsh and wonders if he will ever be loved by a girl. Teasing the boy, the Empress turns away, laughing. Then, unexpectedly, the young woman places her hand on her face with a sarcastic expression. To Si Jin's surprise, the Empress tells him not to worry, that if no one wants him, he can be part of her imperial group. Then our protagonist becomes very flustered, thinking that this group is quite different from what he imagined. At that moment, Ling Bo knocks on the door of the room where Si Jin is staying at the dojo, asking for permission to enter. Alarmed by the situation, the Empress questions Si Jin why someone else is entering the room. Desperate, the Empress orders Si Jin to find a place for her to hide, and the boy tells her to go back the way she came. Then the young Empress quickly looks for a place to hide. Next, Ling Bo enters the room where our boy is. Ling Bo sees the young disciple lying on the bed, resting. Feigning nonchalance, the young boy greets Ling Bo. The young swordswoman apologizes to Si Jin, saying she didn't visit him earlier because she was very busy. Happily, Ling Bo also informs the boy that her father no longer stays in the room all day and has returned to teaching the disciples. Our young swordswoman also informs Si Jin that she brought some medicine sent by the young healer Huai. To Ling Bo's surprise, when she opens the envelope also sent by young Huai, she finds more jokes from her friend. This makes her very upset, causing the young disciple to become curious and ask what happened. Very embarrassed, Ling Bo sits on the edge of the bed where the boy is resting and asks Si Jin for help. Surprisingly, the Empress, hiding under the bed, feels irritated, thinking she was there first. Panicked by the situation, our protagonist becomes very scared, asking Ling Bo why she wants this. Embarrassed and perplexed, Ling Bo says she will help by applying the ointment to his body. This way, the Empress feels more at ease, knowing that the girl doesn't have bad intentions. Embarrassed, Si-jin tells the young swordswoman that he can apply the ointment himself. Lingbo becomes very annoyed at Si-jin's request, insisting that he let her massage him because it's her responsibility. Agreeing with the girl, young Si-jin begins to remove his clothes so that she can massage his body. Disconcerted by the situation, Lingbo informs the young apprentice that she will begin his massage. While massaging Si-jin's back, Lingbo starts to admire the boy's body in her thoughts. At this moment, the young swordswoman asks the young disciple how it feels, and he informs her that it feels good. Still hiding under the bed, the Empress begins to wonder why she has to hide, as the atmosphere is very strange. Embarrassed, Si-jin tells Lingbo that she can stop now because he is already feeling much better after the massage. Blushing, the young swordswoman asks the boy if she can massage his thighs. Our protagonist, very embarrassed, says that he will do it himself, but Lingbo insists that she should do it because she knows the right amount of pressure to apply. At that moment, something unexpected happens. Lingbo loses her balance and falls onto the young boy. Then our protagonist asks Lingbo if she is alright. Disconcerted by the situation, the young swordswoman apologizes, asking if she hurt him. But Si-jin reassures her, saying he's fine. To make up for the situation, Lingbo again asks the boy to let her massage his thighs, asking if he will refuse a girl's request. With Lingbo still on top of him, Si-jin starts to feel embarrassed, trying to think of something to avoid becoming too excited. Trying to divert his thoughts, Si-jin begins to remember his past life, and unexpectedly, Lingbo asks him what he thinks of her. Si-jin is startled by the girl's question and replies that he admires her a lot because she shares responsibilities with her father. Underestimating herself, the young swordswoman says that without the young disciple's help, the dojo would have already closed. At this moment, Si-jin places a hand on Lingbo's shoulder, advising her not to give up and encouraging her to pursue her goals. Recalling the time Lingbo defeated Gao Chun using only her sword skills, the boy teases about the situation. Encouraged by Si-jin's advice, Lingbo wonders if she can become more confident. Si-jin reminds Lingbo that they are still very young and that youth is their greatest strength. Lingbo gazes at Si-jin, admiring him more and more. Sarcastically, the young swordswoman says that Si-jin talks like an old man, and the boy claims he is just speaking the truth. Unexpectedly, Lingbo rests her head on Si-jin's chest, thanking him and asking if she can call him by his first name. Our protagonist responds to Lingbo that it's okay and that he will also call her by her first name. Then the young swordswoman prepares to ask the boy something. Just as Lingbo is about to ask Si-jin a question, something unexpected happens. Another young woman enters the boy's room without even knocking on the door. Embarrassed, the young disciple asks Princess Mujilan what she is doing in his room, and she, also embarrassed, asks why he is not wearing clothes. Already seated on the boy's bed, the princess asks if he is feeling better, and he replies that he is. Unexpectedly, young Lingbo also decides to hide under the boy's bed, where the Empress is already hiding. Embarrassed by the situation, Lingbo is about to greet the Empress, but the young woman says there's no need due to the circumstances. Because of this unusual situation, Si-jin finds himself very embarrassed. At this moment, the young boy remembers that he is the son of two spiritual deities, but he is a reincarnated youth. Based on fantasy novels, the young disciple knows his responsibilities. Thoughtful, Si-jin knows he is in trouble due to the situation he finds himself in, where his only defense is his underwear. Our protagonist wonders what he should do in this situation and considers inviting the girls to play mahjong. However, he remembers that in this world, that game does not exist, and the princess becomes intrigued, wondering what is going through Si-jin's mind at that moment. Intrigued, Princess Mujilan asks the young disciple if he is okay because he seems to be in another world. Unexpectedly, our protagonist shouts out loud, "Love and peace," leaving the princess even more puzzled. After Si-jin shouts out loud, the princess is startled and drops the books in her hands. Startled, the young princess drops the books on the floor. Si-jin panics, knowing that if the princess bends down to pick up the books, she will discover the two other girls under his bed. At that moment, the princess bends down to pick up her books from the floor, making Si-jin even more desperate. Seeing an arm sticking out from under the bed, the princess wonders what is happening. Then finally, young Lingbo and the young Empress emerge from under the bed, all three girls feeling very embarrassed. Embarrassed, Princess Mujilan asks Si-jin what is going on. To break the awkwardness, Lingbo responds to the princess that she came to Si-jin's room to deliver the ointment that young Huai sent. Sarcastically, the Empress mocks the boy, saying that his girlfriend's aura is quite intimidating. Si-jin becomes very annoyed with the Empress, stating that it's all her fault. With a sarcastic tone, the Empress mocks the boy again. At this moment, the princess is intrigued by the Empress's presence in the room. Not having recognized the Empress immediately, the princess asks who this young woman is. Intrigued, Si-jin tells Princess Mujilan that the young woman is the Empress. Flustered, the princess greets Her Majesty, bowing. But the Empress reassures the princess, saying that this is not a formal occasion and that she doesn't need to bow. Even more intrigued, Princess Mujilan turns to see Jean, questioning why the Empress is in his room, and the boy responds that he doesn't know. To break the awkwardness, the Empress decides to answer the princess's question. Unexpectedly, the Empress states that due to Si Jin's special past, she has a task for the boy and asks the girls to keep it a secret. However, the princess is very intrigued by the Empress's remarks about the boy's past, and the Empress tells her to ask him. Moving past the situation, the Empress asks Lingbo to accompany her to her father since she didn't bring any imperial guards. At this moment, feeling very awkward, Lingbo hands the ointment to the princess, asking her to help the boy with his massages. Still very intrigued by the whole situation, the princess turns to see Jean, observing him discreetly. Disconcerted by the Empress's statements, Si Jean is willing to tell the princess about his past, but the princess reassures the boy, saying that he should rest and that she will help him with the massages on his muscles. While massaging the young apprentice's back, the princess says she is relieved to see he is doing well and that he has found time to spend with new girls. Sarcastically, our young disciple asks the princess if she is jealous. Embarrassed, the princess tells Si Jean he is being indecent with that question and asks if he is trying to flirt with her. Teasing the boy, Princess Mujilan says that if he doesn't attend classes, she will reach the level of a spiritual deity before him. But since they are friends, the boy says that's not bad because his parents are already spiritual deities. Si Jean tries to cover it up, realizing he has said too much. In the courtyard of the Ling Dojo, some new disciples are training. The new disciples are performing sword training. At this moment, the Empress observes the new disciples of the dojo practicing with their instructors. Next, the young Empress becomes excited to see that many new disciples have been recruited, and Ling Bo's father thanks the young woman. Recalling the actions of the Gao family, the Empress states that they will face problems in the future. However, Ling Lai claims he is just a martial artist and doesn't understand these things. Reassuring Master Ling, the Empress says that he has always been like this. Then the Empress tells the master of the Ling Dojo that he should train strong swordsmen for his country. Knowing Her Majesty well, Master Ling questions her about the real reason for her presence at the dojo. Being direct, the Empress asks Master Ling about the whereabouts of Lu Xiao, but the master of the Ling Dojo remains silent. At this moment, the Empress turns to Master Ling, already knowing this would be his response. Then the Empress again questions the master of the dojo if he intends to protect Lu Xiao. Master Ling responds to the Empress that even though he knows Lu Xiao is wrong, he is still a disciple of the Ling Dojo. But knowing Master Ling, the Empress already knew that would be his answer. Then the Empress tells the master of the dojo that one of the goals of Ce and Wan Dai's journey is to find pills that could heal his wounds. But Master Ling tells the Empress that he doesn't care much about that anymore. Thoughtfully, the Empress replies to Master Ling that she cares about his recovery because she feels that something is about to happen. Intrigued, Master Ling asks the Empress if the demons are plotting something. But the Empress responds that it is more than that. Not just the demons, but there is a dark force threatening the entire continent. Now at the Gao family mansion, young Gao Chun is very irritated about being under house arrest. A frightened servant of the Gao family tries to calm young Gao Chun, saying that they are being watched and that he should be patient. But the reason for Gao Chen's anger is that he was expelled from the Royal Academy. Unexpectedly, someone appears at the Gao mansion. Then a beautiful woman appears, claiming she was sent by Lin Yun Gao to be young Gao Chen's mentor. Underestimating the woman, Gao Chen asks who she is. Intrigued that he doesn't know her, she informs him that her name is Bijou. Emphasizing, the woman says that those who know her call her the Emerald Empress. At this moment, young Gao Chun becomes intrigued to learn that she is a level 9 spiritual emperor. Back at the training academy, our protagonist is enthusiastic because the ointment from the young healer Hua Yi has completely healed his body. Unexpectedly, the princess asks the young boy if it wasn't due to her good application of the medicine on his body. Si Jean turns around looking for the princess, but she is on the opposite side of where the boy is looking. Then the young disciple turns to the princess, greeting her with a good morning. At this moment, young Lin Yun appears, hitting Si Jean on the head with a notebook for missing so many classes. But the young disciple mocks the situation. Professor Gon of the academy, who is going to train them, says it's great to see Si Jean in high spirits and that he should teach the students. Intrigued, Si Jean watches the professor leave, floating away, and says this is not good. Then Princess Mujilan and young Lin Yun tell him they will talk about it later, and the boy is intrigued by their excitement. At this moment, Professor Gon announces to the new students the presence of Si Jean, and informs them that he has been the center of attention recently. Leaving, the professor tells the students they can challenge Si-jin because he is going to take a nap, leaving the boy very irritated. Sarcastically, Professor Gon says that Si-jin cannot use a sword or any other accessory, but the other students can. Next, the students present ask Si-jin to teach them. Intrigued by the situation, the boy questions the two students if they really want to train together against him. At this moment, Si-jin prepares to begin the lessons, and the students prepare to start training with the young disciple. Sarcastically, Princess Mujilan asks Yun if he will fight against Si-jin, and the young man replies that his sense of self-love prevents him. Lingbo and young Huai are observing that the students are very excited to train with Si-jin. Enthusiastic, Lin Yun states that he has not yet seen Si-jin use any real spiritual arts, and that he will face level 3 students. At this moment, young Si-jin prepares to start the training with the students, accepting the challenge from the level 3 students. Quickly, several students begin to create spiritual magic to launch their attacks against Si-jin. Lin Yun is excited to witness what the students are about to do. Worried, young Huai says that the students are taking the training too seriously. Trusting in Si-jin's potential, Princess Mujilan states that there is no need to test him. However, young Lingbo says that Si-jin's strength still lies in experience, and that the textbook strategy will soon impact them. At this moment, the young disciple leaps toward his opponent. Si-jin quickly moves toward the student who is about to launch an attack against him. Trying not to give Si-jin time to defend, the student performs his first level 3 attack. However, Si-jin is very fast and, with agility, grabs the student's arm, leaving him stunned by the situation. Intrigued, the student doesn't know what to do against such a strong opponent. Unexpectedly, Si-jin, without much difficulty, manages to dodge the student's attack, throwing him to the side toward the other students. Quickly, the students prepare to defend against the attack heading in their direction. Not fully understanding what just happened, the student who attacked apologizes to the others. Confident, Si-jin tells the student that he has won the fight. Our young disciple sweeps the student's leg, giving the student no chance to defend. Unexpectedly, without giving Si-jin time, another student starts an attack from behind. This student initiates a level 3 spiritual art attack, Lightning Summon. Without much difficulty and with confidence, Si-jin counters with a level 1 attack against the student's level 3 attack. Knowing the components of the attacks, Si-jin performs a counterattack, cutting off the effect of the student's attack. By executing the counterattack, Si-jin causes the student's lightning attack to turn back on her. The girl then becomes frantic, not understanding what is happening, thus easily defeating another academy student. Noticing he is about to be attacked from behind again, Si-jin quickly initiates a level 1 counterattack. Our young boy performs a spiritual magic, generating 2 ice shields in his hands. Finally, the 2 students who were about to attack Si-jin from behind launch their fire attacks at the boy. However, unexpectedly, Si-jin was already prepared to defend himself. Our young disciple throws his ice shields toward his opponents. Quickly, the ice shields are launched into the air, completely obstructing the students' visibility. Then something unexpected happens. Taking advantage of the fact that the students couldn't see because of the ice shields, Si-jin disappears, leaving them in a panic. Terrified, the student who had already been defeated by Si-jin shouts to the others, warning them that Si-jin is behind the two, and with great agility, Si-jin's hand appears on one of their shoulders. Sarcastically, the young disciple informs them both that they have been defeated. Everyone present is astonished by Si-jin's agility, which gives the students no chance. At this moment, silence falls over the area, and everyone is amazed by what just happened. Intrigued, Mujilan emphasizes that Si-jin still hasn't used his true power. However, young Hawaii states that the boy won using strategies. Disconcerted, young Lin Yun believes the professor will not like what happened. Si-jin looks at the students with curiosity. Our young disciple wonders what is going on with the students, who have strange expressions. At this moment, one of the students dusts off his pants. Then, unexpectedly, the students who face Si-jin bow before him and thank him for the display of strength. But the student who attacks Si-jin with her lightning stands up, saying she feels empty inside. And the other students agree with her, feeling the same way. Our young apprentice believes they feel this way because he didn't use any higher level spiritual arts. Intrigued, Lin Yun asks Si-jin if he focused on practical combat when learning his spiritual arts. Our protagonist responds to young Lin Yun, explaining that when he was a child, he would go to the mountains to hunt demons for dinner. Curious, young healer Hawaii also asks Si-jin how old he was at that time. Sarcastically, the young boy replies that he was a little over 8 years old, maybe. At this moment, his friends are incredulous at Si-jin's answer, thinking his parents must be very poor for him to have to hunt at such a young age. Si-jin feels uncomfortable with the situation, trying to understand why his friends are looking at him with pity. Princess Mujilan believes that this is why Si-jin behaves differently in his fights. The young disciple starts asking the students questions, trying to understand how they learn spiritual arts. One of the students is intrigued, knowing that a level 1 spiritual magic easily defeated his level 3 magic. Then Si-jin tries to explain to the students what he actually did to neutralize his opponent's level 3 magic. At this moment, the students look at Si-jin, wondering what he is talking about. Disconcerted, Si-jin remembers he is trying to explain something from another world to people who have never heard of chemical reactions. So the young disciple tries to explain more clearly so that the students can understand what he did. When our protagonist explains that, if used correctly, a lower level magic can easily defeat a higher level magic. Understanding more easily what Si-jin was trying to explain, one of the students begins to grasp what the young boy did. Again, Si-jin explains in more detail about his counterattacks against the students during the fight. The students, now better understanding the young disciple's explanations, are incredulous. Si-jin states that if you know how to choose the right spiritual art at the right moment, lower-level spiritual arts can be very effective in combat. Our young boy also explains to the students that spiritual arts have different properties. Our boy advises the students to study their spiritual arts properties better so they can combine them. Si-jin explains that they must be cautious when combining properties because if not used correctly, one can interfere with the other. Based on his knowledge, the young disciple explains that spiritual arts can either enhance or suppress each other. Unexpectedly, all the students begin practicing the combined effects of their spiritual arts, as Si-jin taught them. At this moment, the professor reappears, stating that Si-jin could be a better teacher than him. Sarcastically, the professor tells Si-jin that he will ask the headmaster to have him teach theoretical classes, making him feel embarrassed. Unexpectedly, the professor was devising a plan to get Si-jin alone at some point. Then Si-jin's friend challenges him to a duel, taking advantage of their distance from the other students. Our boy is confused, asking if his friend is serious. Confident, young Lin-yun confirms that he is and says it's time for him to show off a bit. Taking off his cloak, young Lin-yun informs Si-jin that he needs to tell him something, that he is different from the other students, and has received practical training, so Si-jin shouldn't underestimate him. A bit worried about what could happen, Si-jin asks the professor if he can use his sword against young Lin-yun due to his potential. Still sarcastic and sleepy, the professor denies Si-jin's request, saying he would like to see something new from him. Very confident in the duel, young Lin-yun reminds Si-jin that he is very skilled in cryogenics. However, the princess notes that while young Lin-yun is good at cryogenics, he still doesn't know what type of art Si-jin uses. Without giving the young boy time, his friend Lin-yun initiates his magical attack against the young disciple, launching sharp ice shards at Si-jin. Unexpectedly, the young boy uses the same ice shields he made earlier in the fight against the students. Then, without much difficulty, Si-jin manages to block young Lin-yun's attack, completely eliminating the sharp ice spears. Intrigued, Lin-yun concludes that instead of using fire against ice, Si-jin used ice shields against his ice attack. Holding the shields, Si-jin appears very confident against his opponent. Using his wisdom, young Lin-yun is determined to learn about the young disciple's techniques by fighting him. Si-jin is intrigued to see that young Lin-yun is about to attack again. Quickly, Si-jin decides to close in on Lin-yun to shorten the distance between them. At this moment, something unexpected happens. Confident, young Lin-yun informs Si-jin that he has learned something very important from him. Sarcastically, Si-jin asks his friend what difference that makes. Then, unexpectedly, young Lin-yun creates an ice stone in his hand, squeezing it with his fingers, and hurls the stone toward the young disciple's face, who dodges quickly, causing Si-jin to retreat and distance himself once more. Recalling Si-jin's teachings to the students, Lin-yun says he put into practice what his friend explained and asks him to name the attack. Excited, Si-jin suggests naming it Ice Bullet. Liking the name suggested by the young disciple, young Lin-yun quickly launches an attack using the name technique. But since it's a simple spell, young Lin-yun throws several ice stones at the boy. Intrigued by the situation, needing to defend himself quickly, Si-jin admires how easily young Lin-yun has learned his teachings. At this moment, one of the ice stones nearly hits the young boy's foot. Intrigued, Si-jin studies a way to approach Lin-yun again, realizing that both he and the princess learn quickly. Acting quickly, Si-jin decides to use the same strategy of attacking from behind against his opponent. At this moment, Yun concentrates his power for a powerful attack, and the princess can't believe what she's witnessing. Young Lin-yun using his combat strategy. Lin-yun tells Si-jin that he trained a lot with Princess Mujilan, while the young boy was away recovering. Lingbo is impressed with Lin-yun's fantastic ability and ease in learning new techniques. The professor present is very enthusiastic to witness two such talented students. He also admires Lin-yun's ease in learning new techniques using basic attacks. Desperate, Si-jin looks for ways to defend himself from young Lin-yun's multiple attacks. Just when the young disciple is almost able to escape the attacks, something unexpected happens. The air around his foot begins to turn to ice, forming a block of ice, making it impossible for Si-jin to move. Then Si-jin finds himself with no time to perform a powerful defensive art against his opponent's imminent attack. Quickly, our protagonist starts to create a whirlwind of wind to defend himself from his friend's ice bullets. After eliminating the ice bullets, Si-jin focuses his wind attack on Yun, and easily, young Lin Yun creates something to defend himself. Quickly, he generates an ice wall using level 3 spiritual arts. With a superior air, young Lin Yun asks Si-jin if he is really going to respond. At this moment, unexpectedly, Si-jin begins to combine spiritual arts to perform an unexpected attack. The young disciple adds more power to his attack against his opponent's ice wall. Surprisingly, the ice wall begins to crack due to Si-jin's powerful attacks. Astonished by what she is witnessing, the princess is amazed at how Si-jin can concentrate so much power using level 2 attacks. The professor is enthusiastic, seeing that Si-jin used a change in climate against his opponent, eager for what comes next. At this moment, young Lin Yun believes that Si-jin is about to show his trump card, and everyone will know how strong he is. However, behind the ice wall, Lin Yun was forming a very powerful spiritual attack, leaving those watching the duel amazed by the extent of Yun's power. Our young healer is impressed to witness someone using a level 5 spiritual art. Confident, our protagonist decides to use a fire spiritual art first in combination with his wind attack. Then the young boy unleashes his level 2 spiritual art, Fire Flow, creating an incredible combination of fire and wind. Ling Bo is astonished to witness what the young disciple is doing, combining a series of attacks. However, Princess Mujilan believes that the power of the flame is greatly reduced due to young Lin Yun's ice bullets. Then a mixture of elements forms a whirlwind of wind, water, and fire. Quickly, Si-jin launches another attack with a new level 2 spiritual art, Lightning Strike, thus generating a massive fusion of magical properties against young Lin Yun's ice wall. At this moment, something unexpected is about to happen. Princess Mujilan panics, seeing that the ice wall is about to break, but the professor says it is too late, emphasizing that young Lin Yun has already completed his formation and is about to use his magic at maximum power. After completing his spell, Yun confidently tells Si-jin that he has already won the battle. Then a massive hammer forms above the magical field created by young Lin Yun. At this moment, the other students, realizing what was happening, are shocked to witness a level 5 spiritual art. Everyone present is incredulous to see that young Lin Yun is already using such powerful attacks. Confident and sarcastic, young Lin Yun mocks Si-jin, saying that he should surrender. However, our boy, trusting his potential, declares that he will let his friend surrender first. Desperate about the situation, Princess Mujilan yells at the professor, saying the students are taking the battle too seriously. But the professor reassures the princess, saying he won't let anything serious happen. Following what Si-jin said, young Yun initiates his attack, using his powerful magic against the boy. A gigantic hammer heads toward the young disciple. However, our boy appears confident and quickly prepares to perform a counterattack. With great agility, our young apprentice launches his level 4 attack against young Lin Yun's ice wall. Then something unexpected happens after the young boy's magic collides with the ice wall. Clearly, the ice wall is about to completely shatter. Finally, after several cracks appear on the ice wall, it begins to break apart. Amazingly, at the same time the giant hammer strikes the ground, the ice wall shatters, causing a massive explosion that leaves everyone terrified. Our princess is frantic, trying to see someone amid the smoke. Very worried, Princess Mujilan calls out for Si-jin and Lin Yun. Concerned and irritated with the situation, the princess questions the boys, asking if they know when to stop. Unexpectedly, as the smoke clears, the professor emerges, holding Lin Yun and Si-jin by the collars of their clothes. Embarrassed by the situation, the boys start to laugh sheepishly. Using good judgment, knowing he was saved first, Lin Yun declares that Si-jin won the battle. Excited to have defeated such a strong opponent, Si-jin admires and praises his friend Lin Yun. While the friends congratulate each other after a fierce fight, Princess Mujilan, still very worried, comes over to ask how both are doing. Our princess is very indignant to see the boys smiling after almost defeating each other. Admiring the young students Si-jin and Lin Yun, the professor is enthusiastic, knowing it will be a promising year. Behind the training academy, there is a mountain surrounded by rocks and a mysterious forest. This same mountain is located between the Royal Academy, the capital, and Si-jin's home. The forest on this mountain is home to various beasts of different levels. There are also rumors that this forest may have level 9 or even level 10 beasts in its unexplored center by humans. Next to the training academy is the first peak of the mountain, where the beasts are of lower level due to the proximity. It is also where practical tests with the academy students are conducted. However, the balance of the place was disrupted after young Si-jin defeated the level 5 demon that lived there. The level 5 boar king had lived on the mountain for over 300 years, posing no risk to the students and maintaining the balance of the area. After the boar king was defeated by the young disciple, the professors felt a sense of emptiness. They were at a loss for a while, not knowing what to do. To lift the professors' spirits, the training academy held a big barbecue on the mountain that night. However, after the boar king was defeated, serious problems arose for the academy's headmaster. The headmaster showed concern because there was no longer a level 5 demon to maintain the mountain's balance. So, the headmaster started devising plans to restore the mountain's balance, trying to find a new level 5 beast. At this moment, the headmaster receives great news that a new level 5 demon might be coming to live on the mountain. Very excited, the headmaster asks the man to show him where the demon is. Then, both head into the forest. However, the headmaster seems surprised to spot the possible new resident of the mountain. Back at the training school, the professor explains to the students about creatures from the fantasy world that can absorb power. Bored, our protagonist seems not to be paying attention in class. Curious, Princess Mujilan asks Si-jin what he is doing since he isn't paying attention to the professor. Si-jin then turns to Mujilan, saying that since the class is very dull, he is working on a small invention. Our princess, observing the very detailed drawing, is indignant that Si-jin calls it small. Excited about his new invention, the young boy says he's just doing it to pass the time. Then, once again, Si-jin begins to bring things from his past life, leaving Princess Mujilan puzzled about what he's talking about. Unexpectedly, the princess asks Si-jin a bold question, asking if he will be free after class. Our protagonist gets excited, thinking the girl is finally going to make a move. Because the princess and the young boy were whispering in the classroom, the professor calls their attention for being too close, leaving Si-jin and Princess Mujilan embarrassed by the situation. Now outside the training school, our boy eagerly asks the princess why she asked to talk to him after class. Just when we think the young princess will ask the boy to be her boyfriend, she makes an unexpected request, making the young disciple even more anxious to know what the princess will ask him. Very embarrassed, Mujilan is ready to make her request to the boy. Embarrassed by the situation, the young princess makes an unusual request to Si-jin, asking him to help her become stronger, leaving our young disciple stunned by another strange request from the princess. Our princess does not know how to increase her power because she uses the weakest spiritual art among all. Our boy is disconcerted by the situation, while the princess asks why he is disappointed. After witnessing the battle between Si-jin and young Lin Yun, the princess believes there are flaws in her strategies. However, she questions herself because she has studied for some time to find out where she is going wrong but hasn't found the flaw. In a friendly manner, young Si-jin reminds the princess that they promise to help each other grow their spiritual powers together. Thus, our young disciple begins to study ways to help the princess improve her strategies. Then finally, Si-jin finds a plausible solution that will indeed help the princess succeed. Our protagonist concludes that the princess needs to improve her flexibility during combat. Ironically, our boy imagines the delicate princess enhancing her skills and becoming a Barbie King Kong. Intrigued by the boy's thoughts, the princess questions him, leaving him completely flustered. Following Si-jin's advice, Princess Mujilan begins to analyze the best way to improve her flexibility. Trying to find something in his comedic memories, the boy starts having some funny ideas to help the princess. For her part, the princess believes that using a horse might improve her flexibility in combat. Si-jin agrees with the princess's suggestion, and the young woman tells the boy that her ability was inspired by her people's combat style. Enthusiastic, our young apprentice has the brilliant idea of hunting a beast for the princess to use as a mount. The next day, already in the forest, our protagonist is embarrassed because he thought it would only be him and the princess on this hunt. However, the princess decided to bring all her friends to make the hunt more enjoyable and less dangerous. Excited, Mujilan believes it will be a fun hunt with all the friends present. Even more excited is Ling Bo, who can also improve her skills with the help of the young disciple. Meanwhile, young Lin Yun tells his friends he feels bored, and Si-jin teases him, saying he can leave if he wants. Our young healer, Hua Yi, is also very excited about the outing with friends and has packed a basket for a picnic. At this moment, young Lin Yun states that Si-jin is also excited about the hunt because he brought the demon sword of forgetfulness. Embarrassed, Si-jin recalls that it was the sword itself that begged to join, and that it wants to stay with one of the girls. Then something catches the young disciple's attention in the forest. Our protagonist asks his friend Lin Yun if he also sensed something in the forest. Frightened, Lin Yun responds that he did and that there are multiple beasts. Intrigued, the princess remembers that Si-jin defeated the former level 5 demon that lived there and asks why the beasts have returned. Next, young Hawaii informs the princess that she heard a professor say a new high-level beast lives on the mountain. However, our young swordswoman is frightened because she cannot sense the power level of this new beast. Our protagonist is puzzled by the situation, as he also can't sense the actual power of this new high-level demon. Among the leaves of the bushes, something watches our brave young people who are distractedly chatting in the forest. Something with big, sinister eyes is lurking, waiting for the right moment to appear or even attack. Nearby, something is happening. In the capital's medical center, the medicine professor, Madame Lu, is preparing a remedy with medicinal herbs for someone. At that moment, the headmaster of the training school appears, asking Professor Lu how the patient is. Responding to the headmaster, the professor says she has reconnected all the broken bones of the patient. However, it is difficult to cleanse all the wounds because the miasma poison is in the patient's blood, and purification is only possible internally and slowly. Then, still very weak, the patient apologizes to Director Lee for being careless. Seeing the patient's condition in the medical center, Director Lee believes they should close the mountain until the beast is identified. Remembering past events, the headmaster feels uneasy, thinking that young Si-jin will cause him problems once again. Certain that his young disciple will be involved in trouble again, the headmaster is very irritated. Back in the forest, the friends are very excited about the outing, which is actually a hunt for a swift beast for the princess. However, something scary is lurking nearby. Could it be an imminent danger? Is a fierce beast about to attack the young ones? We will find out soon. Then suddenly, something jumps out of the bushes toward the young ones. Apparently, what jumped out of the bushes headed toward the hands of young healer Hawaii, grabbing the object the girl was holding. Then, we finally see that it is a forest beast. Our young Hawaii is terrified to see that the beast took the basket she was holding. Si-jin and Princess Mujilan are also startled when they realize it is a very agile beast. At this moment, all the friends in the forest only see the reflection of a forest demon, which leaves them intrigued. Then, we finally get a glimpse of the beast that took young Hawaii's basket. Seeing that it was a kitten, the friends found the beast very cute. However, intrigued, young Hawaii reminded her friends that it is a beast, and they still do not know if it is dangerous. Agreeing with the young girl, our protagonist echoes her words, reminding them to be cautious with any beast. After young Hawaii says the beast intends to starve them, Si-jin gets irritated with her. Lingbo is intrigued to see the demon beast running away with her friend's basket, asking her friends to stop it. Without hesitation, young Lin Yun launches an attack with ice bullets toward the beast, casting his magic swiftly. However, he cannot hit any of his attacks due to the beast's agility. Si-jin admires the beast's agility, as it dodges all of Yun's ice bullets. It truly is a very agile beast, capable of dodging all of young Lin Yun's attacks. Then, finally, the beast flees to a tree, where it observes the forest visitors. Entirely at ease with the visitors' presence, the beast stretches out on the tree branch. Lingbo and Lin Yun are astonished to see that the beast did not feel threatened by their presence in the area. Our princess was charmed to learn that the beast was just a cute kitten, which made our young disciple irritated. Then, the beast jumps from the tree branch into the forest, and the friends decide to follow it. Effortlessly, the beast escapes with young healer Hawaii's basket among the trees. At this moment, Si-jin realizes that the beast's intention in fleeing is to have the visitors follow it. Our protagonist asks the demon sword if it knows that type of beast, and the sword warns him to be careful. Shocked by what she sees, young Hawaii orders everyone to stop. The friends come across trees completely overtaken by something demonic. Our young healer Hawaii states there is miasma in the area and it shouldn't be inhaled, suggesting that everyone take the antidote immediately. Intrigued, Princess Mujilan realizes the cute little beast had plans for her friends. Unexpectedly, a terrifying beast emerges from the leaves. A demon snake appears and tries to strike from behind our princess. Quickly, Si-jin pulls the princess by the shoulder. Protecting Princess Mujilan, our boy draws his pistol and shoots at the beast, hitting the demon snake right on target. Our protagonist, worried about the young princess, asks if she is okay. Frightened, young Lin Yun warns his friends to be careful because the tree leaves are highly poisonous. The dead leaves of the trees have a frightening appearance of venomous snakes. At this moment, the friends find themselves cornered by the imminent danger. The young ones are surrounded by the venomous miasma of the vipers. Then everyone begins to defend themselves using their combined magic to attack the poisonous leaves. Using their magic, the friends start to create a protective field. Si-jin is intrigued by the amount of poison the dead leaves are spreading in the forest, convinced that there is a viper king in the area controlling all the snake-shaped leaves. Puzzled by the situation, our young apprentice is certain it is an enormous beast, and at this moment, they hear a rumble. Something gigantic seems to be emerging from the ground, and more rumbles start to echo through the trees. Terrifyingly, a giant viper begins to emerge from the soil. Completely out of the underground, the Viper King appears before the young ones. Our young students are astonished to see the giant viper. Shocked, our princess asks her friends what kind of beast this monster that emerged from the underground could be. Thinking about everyone's safety, our young disciple asks his friend Lin Yun to create an ice wall. Creating an ice shield, our protagonist also uses the same technique as his friend. With the ice walls in place, the young ones are temporarily protected from the fierce beast. Passing by the young ones, the giant viper bumps into the ice wall created by Si Jin and Lin Yun. Ling Bo asks the young disciple if they should flee, and Si Jin says that if they run, the viper will catch them all due to its agility. Our protagonist informs his friends that the viper hasn't seen them yet because of the low temperature of the ice wall. Lin Yun reminds them that if the viper doesn't leave the area sooner or later, they will have to face it. At this moment, the young disciple asks his friend Ling Bo to launch a sword attack on the viper to try and find a weak spot. Complying with her friend's request, Ling Bo prepares to attack. Then the young swordswoman draws her sword. Quickly, Ling Bo attacks the viper. However, something unexpected happens. Apparently, Ling Bo's attack had no effect on the giant viper's hard shell. Si Jin is shocked to see how tough the viper's shell is, certain that even grenades won't work. Our protagonist starts analyzing the possibilities of attacking the giant viper, thinking as if it were just a piece in a game. Cautiously, our young disciple begins to study the possible weak points of the viper. However, Si Jin remembers that no one in the group is flexible enough to handle the Viper King. At this moment, the demon's sword of forgetfulness reminds the young boy that the cat-shaped beast led them into this trap, making Si Jin ponder over the statement, and the sword also believes the cat led them to this place to deal with the giant viper. Suspicious, Si Jin looks around the ice cave to see if he can spot the Viper King nearby. Unexpectedly, Si Jin manages to spot the cat that led them there. Based on the demon's sword statements, the young boy tries to befriend the demon cat. Then, surprisingly, the cute little kitten begins to move toward the students. Our young healer Huai, seeing the cat approaching, reminds her friends that the creature stole her basket. Si Jin tells the cat that if it really wants to defeat the Viper King, it should help them. With a mocking look, the cat turns as if it doesn't need the group's help. However, surprisingly, the kitten approaches our princess, asking for affection. Our boy is intrigued to see that the cat likes the princess, and the demon's sword asks Si Jin to tell her to activate her wind chi. So, the young disciple asks Princess Mujilan to activate her wind chi around the cat, and she follows the boy's request. At this moment, our princess starts to activate her wind chi around the cat, who stares intently at her. Then, something surprising happens. What was just a kitten becomes a giant cat after the princess creates a wind circle around it. Lin Yun is astonished to see what has just happened, and Princess Mujilan states that the cat absorbed her wind chi. Si Jin is excited, saying it was a gift from the gods, and asks his friends to pay attention to his plan. Our young disciple asks his friends if everyone understood the strategy, which is indeed risky but worth trying. Excited by Si Jin's plan, his friends say they have faith in him. Our protagonist orders the cat to go and distract the Viper King. Obeying the young disciple's command, the cat leaps toward the giant viper, facing the snake head-on. At this moment, the Viper King prepares to attack the cat, but the cat is very agile and dodges the strike of the giant viper. Following the strategy, Si Jin asks his friend Ling Bo to attack the viper's eyes. Heeding the boy's request, the young swordswoman prepares to attack. The cat runs toward the ice wall as Si Jin had planned, leading the viper into a trap. Our boy asks Ling Bo to be patient, while also asking young healer Huai to strengthen the defense and boost Ling Bo's power. Then the girl prepares to follow the young disciple's request. At this moment, the cat is running toward the students. Continuing with the strategy, Si Jin becomes excited when he spots the cat. Right behind the kitten is the viper, just as Si Jin had planned, and he signals Ling Bo to attack the snake's eye. Without hesitation, the young swordswoman launches an attack toward the Viper King's eye, successfully hitting her target. Next, Ling Bo appears hanging with her sword embedded in the viper's eye. Following the plan, Si Jin informs his friends that the snake can no longer see from its left side due to Ling Bo's attack and tells them to keep moving. Still hanging from the snake, Ling Bo takes the opportunity to wound it further, forcing the sword deeper into the viper's eye. Due to the young swordswoman's attack, the Viper King becomes enraged. Trying to defend itself, the giant snake slams into the ground with all its might. Taking advantage of the situation, the princess and Si Jin climb onto the cat to attack. Mounted on the cat, our princess Mujilan launches a spiritual attack, the Wind Spirit Arrow, at the Viper King. All of the princess's attacks hit the viper directly, but they seem to have no effect on the snake's thick hide. Like a fierce beast, the Viper King immediately attacks the young ones, giving them no time to react. Following this strategy, Si Jin prepares to launch a level 4 spiritual art, the Giant Ice Cone. Our young disciple snaps his fingers to create his magic. Then, like the tip of a giant ice spear, Si-jin's magic strikes the Viper King's head. Si-jin shouts for young Lin Yun to follow through with the strategy. Our protagonist believes that with one final attack from Lin Yun, they will be able to defeat the Viper King. Following the young apprentice's strategy, his friend Lin Yun begins his attack. A giant ice hammer forms above the Viper's head. Lin Yun hurls the hammer with all his strength, striking the ice spear that Si-jin had created, severely wounding the giant snake. However, something unexpected happens. Ling Bo becomes desperate upon realizing that the strategy didn't work. But Si-jin reassures her, saying that everything is under control and that he has an ace up his sleeve. Then, the princess performs another attack against the Viper. This time, she launches the spiral arrow. Next, young Mu Jilan's magical attack heads directly toward the giant Viper's mouth. However, the princess's attack was probably just a distraction. Following his strategy, our protagonist prepares to throw several grenades at the snake. Then, multiple explosions occur on the Viper's hard shell, finally causing several severe injuries to the giant snake. The area is filled with dust due to the grenade explosions. Si-jin and Princess Mu Jilan are eager to see if the strategy worked. After the dust settles, surprisingly, the giant Viper appears defeated. Indeed, the grenades that the young disciple threw created large openings in the snake. The group of friends is astonished to see the Viper defeated and wonders if they really managed to kill it. Finally, after confirming that the giant snake no longer showed any signs of life, they began to celebrate, even the cute kitten. Praising our protagonist, young healer Huai highlights how impressive he is. After the success of the boy's strategy, his friends are happy, remembering that whenever Si-jin is around, something unexpected happens. Our young disciple is very excited about the strategy's success, believing it to be a blessing in disguise. Excited about the kitten, the young princess asks if it wants to be her partner, and the cute kitten responds with a meow. Back at the training school, the headmaster appears, sipping a relaxing tea. However, someone arrives calling his name. One of the teachers informs the headmaster that the level 5 Viper, the new resident of the mountain, has been defeated by grenades, completely disrupting Mr. Lee's peace of mind, who becomes very irritated to learn that it was Si-jin causing trouble again. At this moment, young Si-jin appears meditating and talking with his demon sword of forgetfulness. Our protagonist orders the sword of forgetfulness to start a simulation. Following the boy's request, the demon sword initiates a simulation in a forest and asks if it is satisfactory. Si-jin tells the sword that the more complex the terrain, the better suited it is for a real battle. Now in a virtual world, the young disciple prepares to start some combat training based on the data extracted from the battle against the Viper. Our boy is excited to know that in this world created by the Sword of Forgetfulness, anything is possible. Remembering that in this simulation world, our young apprentice can train without worrying about time. So, without losing focus, our boy begins his combat training. Soon, Si-jin decides to use his sword against the beasts. Our young disciple starts his training using his sword to launch the magical attack Lunar Flow Maiden's Heart. Next, the boy launches his magical attack Moonlight. Continuing his training, Si-jin decides to use modern weapons. Then, our protagonist throws grenades at the beasts, causing a big explosion. Enthusiastic, our young apprentice draws his guns to perform more advanced training. With his pistol in this simulation world, the boy manages to fire multiple shots without needing to reload the weapon. However, the demon sword is not inclined to make life easy for the young apprentice, creating multiple demons simultaneously. At no point does our boy show fear or alarm. Si-jin is really excited about the training and decides to speed things up by using another pistol. With 2 pistols, our young apprentice fires multiple shots at the beasts. Very agile while shooting, the boy almost seems to be dancing. Our protagonist smiles after using pistols in training, being able to move with style. However, the sword is determined to push the boy's potential to its limits. Unexpectedly, the demon sword of forgetfulness creates the fugitive Lu Xiao. Intrigued, Si-jin questions the sword about how the simulation of Lu Xiao can talk to him. But the demon sword informs the boy that it is the one controlling the simulation of the fugitive Lu Xiao. Sarcastically, the boy starts to have ideas about being able to create simulations of people, which makes the sword very irritated. Our protagonist suggests that the sword could simulate a girl for him to do whatever he wants. After the young apprentice's insinuations, the demon sword, very irritated, has the brilliant idea of turning him into a girl. Even against the boy's wishes, after his insinuations, the demon sword carries out its threats, thus transforming our young disciple into a female version of himself. Without giving Si-jin time to react, the demon sword begins its attacks against him. Improvising his defense, Si-jin defends himself with his pistol, but something unexpected happens. While defending with the pistol, his opponent's sword slices it in half, so Si-jin quickly draws his sword, defending himself from his opponent's next strike. but the demon sword is definitely determined to push the boy's potential to the limit, reminding him that this form of Lu Xiao was generated with much more strength than normal. After exchanging several attacks, they stand face to face with their swords locked. Then something unusual happens. Female Sijin draws her other pistol and quickly fires at Lu Xiao. However, since this version of the young fugitive is enhanced, he easily dodges the bullets. He even uses his sword to block all of Sijin's pistol attacks. At this moment, the demon sword decides to intensify the training further. Transforming into its demon form, the sword creates several possessed soldiers to attack our boy, now in his female version. Following their master's command, all the possessed soldiers move toward the girl. Without much thought, Sijin decides to use his grenades against the soldiers. Then, a massive explosion occurs, with only Sijin's shadow appearing amidst the smoke caused by the grenade explosions. With limited visibility due to the smoke, the demon sword can still spot Sijin, so it quickly decides to attack the boy. But something unexpected happens. The demon sword then realizes it wasn't Sijin but his reflection in an ice mirror. Turning around, the demon sword finds Sijin creating fire magic, ready to attack it. Without giving his opponent a chance, our young apprentice launches a fire attack called Blazing Fireball, hitting his opponent squarely. The boy's attack is so powerful that it sends the simulation of Lu Xiao flying away. The simulation of the young fugitive stops only after hitting a tree. At this point, the demon sword knows that without limits on combat means, Lu Xiao will never defeat Sijin. Embarrassed and sarcastic, the young disciple asks the sword to take him back to the real world because he's starting to feel cold in his legs. However, focused on training, the spirit of the demon sword reminds Sijin that he must finish his opponent. Disagreeing with the sword, the young boy says there's no need to finish off an illusion. Reinforcing its statements, the demon sword tells the young disciple that sooner or later, he will have to finish people off. Sure of his objectives, Sijin states that he does not think it necessary to arbitrarily kill people. Once again, the spirit of the demon sword stresses that he should not be so naive to avoid future regrets. Trying to convince the young disciple, the spirit of the sword says once more that if he hesitates, he will likely be defeated. Still in his female form, the young boy ends his day of training because he is very tired. However, the spirit of the sword is very determined to push the young disciple to his limits, creating illusions of great masters from the real world. At this moment, Sijin is upset to realize that the spirit of the sword is pushing his training too hard. Our protagonist is very irritated because the demon sword does not know when to stop. Interested in knowing his limits, Sijin asks the spirit of the sword how it managed to create simulations of these masters. Trying to improve his combat knowledge, the young boy asks the spirit of the sword about the power levels. Then the spirit of the sword begins to explain to the young disciple the different types of power and their levels. The spirit of the sword of forgetfulness also explains about external and internal spiritual chi. Continuing with its explanations, the demon sword also informs the young disciple about the increase in the maximum power limit, also noting the increase in the lower limit, where the more powerful can perform their magic more quickly. Intrigued, Sijin recalls that he already knows the basic principle and wonders what the need is for the power ranking system. Following his thoughts, the young disciple begins to study better ways of combat. However, the spirit of the demon sword tells the boy that there is no need to worry about that and that under its supervision, he will be fine. Hungry for power, the young disciple asks the sword if, in real combat, level truly isn't everything. At this moment, the spirit of the sword informs the young disciple that indeed, a level 9 can be easily defeated by a mere mortal. Making comparisons with the modern world, the spirit of the sword uses the example of Superman and Batman. Imagining the scene in his mind, the young disciple is unsettled by the situation and asks the spirit of the sword to stop. Intrigued, our protagonist remembers that the spirit of the sword said spiritual deities are not mortal and asks what kind of creatures they are. Annoyed by the young boy's question, the sword jumps and says that if it knew, it would never just be a sword. However, the spirit of the demon sword informs him that it only knows that spiritual deities are beyond mortal existence. At this moment, our protagonist says he is very hungry and will look for his friends to have dinner. Heading toward our princess's camp, our young apprentice encounters something unusual. Opening the door to the young princess's quarters, our boy is faced with several things the girl bought for her demon kitten. Then our princess turns to Sijin, asking if he has seen young Lin Yun. Our protagonist replies that Lin Yun went back home to take care of family matters. Meanwhile, at the Lin mansion, Lin Yun appears irritated upon learning that his family will support the Gao family. At this moment, young Yun demands an explanation from his brother. With an air of superiority, Yun's brother turns and looks directly at him. With complete calm, Yun's brother tries to calm him down by suggesting he speak softly and have some tea to relax. However, indignant, Lin Yun tries again to demand an explanation from his brother. Calmly, Yun's brother insists that Yun drink the tea first so they can discuss things calmly, which makes young Lin Yun even more upset. Intrigued by Yun's sudden presence, his brother questions whether this is the reason for his urgent visit home, adding that he is curious why young Yun is so eager to see the downfall of the Gao family. Then Lin Yun makes some important points about the Gao family, painting them as villains within the empire, causing his brother to agree with him, but also pointing out that this alone is not enough to condemn them. Again intrigued by his brother's lack of full agreement, young Yun falls silent. However, seeing that the young man was displeased with the disagreement, his brother decides to explain why. He explains that there are 5 noble families in the country of Tianming, established since the country's founding, and they are the 5 most important families. These families work together to end the chaos in the land and build the country. At this moment, an elder mentions that these achievements cited by Yun's brother are related to their ancestors. This is Mr. Yen Xiangbro from the Yen family, who states that it is the duty of the descendants of these noble families to protect the country. Charismatic, our Empress says that Mr. Yen has a broad perspective for considering the whole country as the property of his family. Mr. Yen then emphasizes that his family is always recruiting talented young people and how much this benefits the country. The Empress then stresses the importance of harmony for both families. However, she notes that it is different for the Gao family because the country is in harmony, and internal defense is no longer so necessary. Lin Yun's brother recalls that the most powerful person in the Gao family is Gao Yuan, and he is only at the celestial spiritual level. Indignant, Young Yun asks his brother why the Gao family has not recruited new talents like the Yan and Xia families have. His brother then explains that martial artists in the Gao family can only come from within the family itself, unlike the others. He also explains that the strongest within the Gao family's sphere of influence was born into the Ling family. Lin Yun tells his brother that Gao Yuan and Ling Lai are the same age, but Ling Lai has been better in everything, leaving Yuan in a panic. Then, the Lin family member also explains that since all the human countries have stabilized, the Gao family is no longer so important. Young Yun also states that initially, the reason the Gao family chose to take command of the defensive force was to get closer to the Hellion family. Very intrigued by all this information, young Lin Yun tells his brother he doesn't understand why their family should support the Gao family. With much wisdom, Lin Yu tells his younger brother to keep an open mind because it is not just about the Gao family. Meanwhile, at the Imperial Palace, our queen seems very concerned, asking for Mr. Yan's opinion. The Empress asks Mr. Yan if the country's fundamental system is in crisis. At this moment, silence fills the Imperial Palace hall. Offering his perspective, Mr. Yan says that the existence of the 5 families is to resist external dangers and maintain internal order. Intrigued by the old man's statements, our Empress understands that when humans become strong enough, it will be dangerous. Agreeing with the Empress's statements, Mr. Yan says that when humans are unable, they will try to break this barrier. At this moment, young Lin Yun appears very worried. Lin Yu tells his brother that if the Gao family is defeated, then they will likely be next. Curious, Young Yu asks his brother if he fears the Gao family might target his friend Si Jin. Young Lin Yun replies that he does not deny his concern for his friend, and his brother asks if he knows Si Jin's true identity. Lin Yun tells his brother that he already knows the young apprentice is the son of spiritual deities, but it changes nothing. Incredulous, young Lin Yun asks his brother Yu if he isn't afraid that Si Jin's parents might seek revenge if the boy gets hurt. Confidently, Yu asks his younger brother if he is afraid that Si Jin's parents will destroy the Gao family or the country. Lin Yu, standing up, states that he is aware of the consequences. However, young Yu, with all his wisdom, says that the stronger someone becomes, the greater their responsibilities. Meanwhile, at the Gao family residence, one of the servants informs the head of the family that people from the Jiang and Lin families are here to see them. Then, Mr. Gao orders his servant to take the visitors to the waiting room, have them wait a bit, serve them some good tea, and not insult them. Indignant about the situation, Mr. Gao says he never imagined they would have to associate with such minor families. At this moment, Mr. Gao's son walks toward him. With a regretful expression, young Gao Chun calls out to his father, wanting to say something important. Gathering his courage, Gao Chun prepares to speak to Mr. Gao. Then Mr. Gao's son says he is very sorry and that it was due to his ignorance and stubbornness that the Gao family is facing so many problems. Deeply remorseful, young Gao tells his father that if he wants, he can renounce him or even turn him in as the culprit to Her Majesty. Unexpectedly, young Gao's father places his hand on his head, reassuring him. Calmly, Mr. Gao soothes his son, saying it is not his fault and that he will take care of everything. Walking away, Mr. Gao tells his son to focus on training with Biluo so as not to disappoint him again. Young Gao then watches his father walk toward another area. Sarcastically, Biluo arrives, saying to young Gao Chun that his father is exemplary, and what a shame. Irritated by Biluo's insinuations, the young man turns to her, questioning what she really means by that. Approaching the young man, Biluo tells him that all his efforts are useless. and that the Gao family is already in the hands of others. Leaning close to Gao Chen's ear, Bilyo says especially him, leaving the young man intrigued. Very irritated, the young man threatens to slap her, but something unexpected happens. Young Gao leans toward Bilyo, asking her to help him become stronger. Sarcastically, she laughs at him, saying that he will indeed become stronger, but in his case, it won't be anytime soon. Bilyo also tells young Gao that if he works hard, maybe in 10 years, he will be like his father, but only if the family still has resources. After Bilyo's statements, young Gao Chen becomes disheartened, but moments later, determined to become stronger, young Gao asks what exactly she wants. Smiling, Bilyo questions Gao Chen as to why he is asking that. Intrigued by the presence of someone so powerful, young Gao is certain that she isn't there for no reason and that he is willing to do anything. Excited in thought, Bilyo finally believes she will get what she was looking for. Meanwhile, at the training academy, young Lin Yun is indignant that he couldn't convince his brother about the Gao family. At that moment, someone calls his name. Without giving young Lin Yun time to fully turn around, his great friend Si Jin arrives, patting him on the back. Sarcastically, young Yun asks if his friend caused any trouble while he was away, and Si Jin is indignant at the suggestion. Our young protagonist tells his friend that they are different because he often goes home. At this moment, young Lin Yun asks Si Jin if he isn't going to mention that he is the son of 2 spiritual deities. Smiling, Si Jin says he didn't want to hide his identity from his best friend, and that Ling Bo and Princess Mu Jilan already knew. The 2 friends laugh because young Lin Yun says Si Jin preferred to tell only the girls. Recalling that the young apprentice saw his friend worried, he asks what happened with his family. At this moment, young Lin Yun informs his friend that he became very angry after learning that the Lin family would support the Gao family. However, unexpectedly, Si Jin tells Lin Yun that this is normal, as his brother had already told him, because if the Gao family falls, the others will fall too. Wisely, the young apprentice tells his friend that since his family has made a decision, they should let them handle it. Lin Yun is indignant to realize that Si Jin said the same thing as his brother, despite being so young. At this moment, young Lin Yun starts laughing, realizing how unique his friend is. Intrigued by the laughter, Si Jin asks why Lin Yun is laughing, and he recalls what his brother said, the more powerful you become, the greater your responsibilities. This way, Lin Yun understands that he is still just a young man and shouldn't worry about such important matters. However, he tells Si Jin that he is determined to make the Gao family pay for the harm they've done. Supporting his friend's decisions, Si Jin says he will help him seek justice. Realizing the reality, young Si Jin says he promised to help his friend but doesn't have money or connections. The young apprentice then thinks about using his parents' name to intimidate the noble families. But something unexpected happens. Once again, the queen jumps through his window, saying it's not a good idea to use his parents' name because he could get into big trouble. Startled, Si Jin turns around and asks Queen Lingling why she's in his room again, and if she won't get caught. Climbing down from the young apprentice's window, the queen says no one would dare to monitor her unless they want to be suspected of rebellion. Now sitting on Si Jin's bed, the queen says she is there to discuss business. Embarrassed, she says she is not there just to see him. Amused and teasing the queen, Si Jin says he wouldn't dare and asks what exactly she needs. Curious, Lingling asks the young apprentice what he plans to do with the Gao family. Intrigued, Si Jin questions the queen about what she means by her statements. Then Lingling tells Si Jin that the Lin family is protecting the Gao family, so he will have to be on their level. Si Jin asks the queen if he could use his real identity because even while hiding it, he's full of problems. Lingling then tells Si Jin that he is his parents' only weakness, and that if he is captured, the country will be in trouble. At this point, the queen asks the young apprentice if he can handle the pressure of being secretly targeted by various cultivators. Sarcastically, Lingling says that if Si Jin is recognized, she will have to imprison him in her harem, leaving him intrigued. Excited by the idea of bringing the young disciple into her harem, the queen tells him that in her castle, he will live like a king. Our protagonist asks Lingling why she, as queen, doesn't just take down the Gao family, and she replies that it's not that simple. Our young reincarnated starts thinking of ideas to bring down the Gao family, remembering that his friends can help. Then the young queen informs Si Jin that no one will dare confront the Gao family because the Lin family also defends them. With doubts, Si Jin asks the queen if she wants him to go to the Yen family. Annoyed by the young man's lack of wisdom, the queen says he's nothing to them and that he should go to the Royal Cultivation Academy. Intrigued, our young reincarnated asks the queen if the academy is really that powerful. Queen Lingling then tells Si Jin that the academy is very powerful because the most powerful people in the country graduated from there. Curious about the queen's statements, the young man asks if the academy could be a threat to national security. At that moment, the queen asks Si Jin if he knows the real name of the training academy's director. Then the queen answers her own question, informing him that the director's name is Helian Tiancheng, meaning he is from the royal family. Meanwhile, in the director's office, he is quietly sipping tea. Then someone enters his office, leaving him intrigued by the visitor's presence. The director is incredulous to learn that Si-jin wants to interfere in the conflicts of noble families, and the boy defends himself by saying he wants to support his best friend. Intrigued by the situation, Director Lee asks Si-jin if he understands the consequences his interference could bring. Answering the director's question, the young apprentice says yes, that even the director's family could be affected. Curious, Director Lee asks the young man why, knowing the consequences, he still wants to interfere in these conflicts. Is it just because of friendship? At this moment, Si-jin starts showing the director how well he understands politics, giving him some information. Then the young apprentice begins to make some assumptions about the Gao family's interests, asserting that if no one interferes, the country of Tianming will stop developing because of them. Our protagonist also tells the director that if no one stops the Gao family, people will start venting their long-held grievances. Si-jin also believes that Her Majesty must have already realized this, and for this reason, she decided to seek opportunities for reform. Our young disciple tells the director that everyone knows what they're doing. Then Director Lee informs Si-jin that since it's Lingling's opinion, he has the obligation to support her, and that he will persuade the teachers. At this moment, Si-jin asks the director what exactly he should do to resolve these conflicts. Being direct, the director tells the young apprentice that he must either persuade the student council or take their place. Si-jin is incredulous at the director's information upon learning that there is a student council. Our protagonist is horrified to learn that there is a student council in the academy, and only now he is finding out about it. Then Director Lee informs the boy that the academy needs to obtain the student council's support before making any important decisions. Still with doubts, Si-jin asks the director if he just needs to persuade the student council and why he might have to take their place. With a sarcastic look, Director Lee stares directly at Si-jin, leaving him embarrassed with the feeling that this will be very amusing for the director. Meanwhile, in the student council room, one of the student council representatives seems to be receiving an important guest. It's the older brother of young Lin Yun. At this moment, Lin Yu tells the student council representative that it has been years since he left the academy, but the decor hasn't changed. Gesturing with his hand, the young man, who is now the president of the student council, says he doesn't feel comfortable changing anything. Then Young Yu tells the boy that leaving him in charge of the student council was the best decision he ever made. Yu also says that the young man has the same attitude as the academy. At this moment, the current president of the student council leans on the table and questions Yu about what to do if his younger brother interferes. Unconcerned about his younger brother's safety, Yu says that if he interferes, just teach him a lesson. Apparently, what you just said made the current president of the student council happy. Indeed, the boy is very pleased to know that he can have some fun. Chen Qinglin says to you that having such a rebellious younger brother must be problematic. Introducing the vice president of the student council, Feng Ning. The student council's treasurer, Yan Jingjing, tells Chen Qinglin not to go too far with the freshman again. The council's secretary, Xia Jiqiu, says that this is very troublesome and that she hates fights. At that moment, something unexpected happens. Our young disciple arrives at the student council room, asking if he came at a bad time. All the council members are surprised, not knowing who he is. Answering the council members' questions, Lin Yu says that Si-jin is a friend of his younger brother, and that he defeated Lu Xiao in the Imperial Tournament. Sarcastically, the student council president says he's never heard of Si-jin and asks why he entered without knocking. Embarrassed, the young apprentice replies that he would have liked to, but there is no door here. At this moment, Yan Jingjing tells the president that he was the one who broke the door when he forgot the key. Si-jin is very excited to be in front of the members of the famous student council of the training school. At this moment, the young disciple notices that his best friend's older brother is also present. Observing the student council members discussing, Si-jin is impressed that they are not like the other students. Then Feng Ming turns to Si-jin, asking him what he's doing in the student council room. So, Si-jin tries to explain, but before he can speak, he is interrupted. Lin Yu interrupts Si-jin, saying he has already reached an agreement with the student council and that the boy should save his breath. Enthusiastically, our protagonist states that he spoke with the director, and the academy will not side with you either. The current student council president is also excited to witness someone speaking this way to Lin Yu. Convinced, Lin Yun's older brother tells Si-jin not to provoke him because the teachers and students have opposing opinions. Confident, Yu tells Si-jin not to overestimate his identity, and that he is no match for the Lin family. Smiling, young Lin Yun also arrives at the student council room, questioning why his brother didn't look for him before going to the academy. Supporting Si-jin, young Lin Yun says he is there to back him up, making our young disciple feel more at ease. Standing up from his chair, Lin Yun's older brother states that the boy has made a good friend. Then Lin Yu says he is not happy with his younger brother's decision. However, Unexpectedly, the older brother says he is pleased with Lin Yun's courage to disobey him. Confident, Yu leaves the room, saying he has taken care of everything and is willing to see if his younger brother can counterattack. Sarcastically, the student council president says there's no need for further discussion after Yu's statements, and asks what the friends will do. Confident, Si Jin and Lin Yun inform the student council members that they will challenge them for leadership of the council. Upon hearing the news, the boys' friends are surprised. Confident, Si Jin informs the girls that he needs them to join him to replace the current student council team. Without much thought, Lingbo tells Si Jin she will be happy to help him, leaving Princess Mujilan intrigued by their closeness. Then, our princess holds Si Jin's hand, informing him that she, too, will be happy to help. At this moment, young Huayu wonders if they can challenge the student council freely or if there will be any conditions. Si Jin then informs them that if they challenge the council, they will need to get at least 1/3 of the students' support, and Lin Yun will handle that. Praising his best friend, Si Jin states that Lin Yun won't have much trouble convincing them, because most students dislike the current student council, even if they have to go against Lin Yu. Si Jin also recalls that both he and Lin Yun are popular freshmen, and the young students at the academy enjoy seeking thrills. Finding his friends, Lin Yun states that Si Jin was right and that it was easy to get many supporters, but now they need to get support from the seniors as well. Happy with his friend's return, Si Jin thanks him for convincing the freshmen. Tired, young Lin Yun asks if he can first have a cup of tea, but Si Jin is excited and asks how he will deal with the seniors. Then, confidently, young Lin Yun states that the academy respects the strongest, and they will be accepted by showing they are strong enough. At this moment, the young man from the Lin family informs his friend Si Jin that he just needs to openly accept the veterans' challenges. Then, Lin Yun also notes that this will buy them time because they need to become stronger before the official challenge. Concerned, young Lingbo asks the friends what levels the student council team is at. At this moment, young Lin Yun also remembers that even he doesn't know for sure and asks himself the same question. Then Lin Yun starts to make guesses about the student council members, recalling that Qin Qinglin reached level 7 a long time ago. The vice president, Feng Ming, is a level 6 master, and since he is calm and stable, he should already be at level 7. The treasurer, Yan Jingjing, is at level 5, as is the secretary, Xia Jiqiu, but Lin Yun recalls that both are from noble families. Then Si Jin appears thoughtful. Naturally, the young disciple states that except for the student council president, the others are not that strong, leaving his friends incredulous. Curious, Si Jin asks his friends what happened. Mu Jilan responds, saying that the boy speaks so arrogantly, and Ling Bo says he talks like that because he is strong. Confident, the young apprentice tells his friends that each of them needs to challenge a council member based on their positions. Then young Lin Yun informs them that as long as they defeat 2 of them, there will be a tie, so at least the student council will have to be restructured. Thinking strategically, Si Jin suggests that both he and his friend should only face and defeat the treasurer and the secretary. Embarrassed, Princess Mujilan and Ling Bo feel like dead weight after Si Jin's strategic remarks. Apologizing, the young apprentice tells the girls it wasn't his intention, and young healer Huai states that Si Jin has no filter. Then Princess Mujilan and Ling Bo agree with Si Jin's strategy, confident that they will win. After doing some calculations, Lin Yun informs his friends that they need at least 2 months for the strategy to work. Confident in young Lin Yun's statements, Si Jin reminds them that the next day they will have to make a statement to the seniors. The next day, a commotion begins to form in the training school's courtyard. The students start gathering in the courtyard to hear a speech. Si Jin and Lin Yun wonder why so many students are present, and worry about the consequences. Si Jin recalls in his thoughts that the students were very excited by his speech at the admission ceremony. Then, on stage, Si Jin introduces himself to the students, stating his name, and that he is just a freshman. But something unexpected happens. Si Jin is interrupted by the student council president as he tries to start his speech. Our protagonist is very surprised to see the student council president at his speech. Lin Yun and Ling Bo wonder what Qin Qinglin is doing there, and Princess Mujilan is confused because she doesn't know who he is. Sarcastically, the student council president asks Si Jin why he didn't receive an invitation to the speech. Then, something unexpected happens. The young man tells Si Jin he is very surprised to see him up close. Sarcastically, Qin Qilin tells Si Jin that they might be brothers because he is the oldest son of the young apprentice's father. However, the student council president quickly clarifies that he was just joking because their last names are different. At this moment, all the students wonder what is really happening on stage. Then, silence falls over the crowd. Lin Yun gets annoyed to see that the student council president is there just to cause trouble. Ling Bo comments that the atmosphere has become very strange due to Qin Qinglin's presence, and wonders what they should do. Worried about Si Jin, Princess Mu Jilan calls out to him. Our protagonist seems very irritated by the unexpected presence of the student council president, especially because he is making inappropriate jokes. Sarcastically, Qin Qinglin mocks Si Jin, saying he was just joking and asking if Si Jin got angry. Then, something unexpected happens. Si Jin says his father once told him he had another son when he was adventuring, and that the man's age matches the description, and they look very similar. Qin Qinglin, intrigued, asks Si Jin if they really look that much alike. This time, it is Si Jin's turn to mock Qin, saying he was joking and asking if Qin has never looked in a mirror. Qin Qinglin seems embarrassed by the situation. However, the young man enjoys Si Jin's joke, saying that the young apprentice is as good-humored as he is. Noticing the student council president's game, our young apprentice asks if that's what he calls humor. Finally, Si Jin asks what Qin Qinglin is really doing there. Enthusiastically, the student council president tells Si Jin that he is there to see something fun, and that Si Jin doesn't need to worry about him. After all the awkwardness of Qin Qinglin's presence, Si Jin decides to return to his speech. Si Jin begins the speech, informing the students that he and his classmates, our young Lin Yun, our Princess Mu Jilan, and our young swordswoman Ling Bo, have decided to restructure the new student council and have therefore challenged the current council's team for leadership. After Si Jin's speech, many comments start circulating among the students about the young apprentice and his friend's actions. Si Jin then pauses to let the students discuss what he has just said. But continuing his speech, something unexpected happens again. Si Jin is once again interrupted by the current student council president. Qin Qinglin tells Si Jin that he thinks that by simply showing his power, he will get enough votes to challenge them. Annoyed by Qin Qinglin's interruptions, Si Jin asserts that he is sure he will gain the students' support this way. Sarcastically, the current council president says that Si Jin doesn't understand the student council and the students very well. Pointing his index finger up, Qin Qinglin shouts to the students, asking those who think Si Jin is qualified to challenge them to raise their hands. Si Jin, curious, asks Qin Qinglin if he intends to pressure them. But the young apprentice then sees something unexpected. All the students raise their hands in agreement with Qin Qinglin's question, leaving Si Jin even more intrigued. Our protagonist is incredulous at what has just happened before his eyes, showing Si Jin that he doesn't need a speech to convince the students if he and his friends want to replace the council. Sarcastically, Qin Qilin tells Si Jin that this student council's approval rating is the lowest in history, but the students lack courage. With a scheming expression, Qin Qilin tells Si Jin that they have enough votes to challenge the student council. At this moment, someone approaches the stage. Confidently, the current student council president introduces Mr. Wenren, who will oversee the official contesting process. Mr. Wenren Jinping is enthusiastic, noting that it has been a long time since anyone has challenged the student council. Approaching Si Jin, Mr. Wenren says the young man needs to surprise him. Enthusiastic, Wenren informs him that he is in charge of the organization department and will decide on a location and the rules for the competition. Worried, our young apprentice asks Mr. Wenren when the first competition will take place and receives the answer that it will be next month. At this moment, Si Jin realizes that this was Qin Qinglin's intention from the beginning, to shorten the time so they can't train. Confident, Qin Qilin reminds Si Jin that he said he would accept challenges from all the students and that he should not go back on his word. In a recreational area of the training academy, our young disciple laments the way things have turned out. Our protagonist feels down, saying the plan was ruined. Si Jin seems disheartened after the events, and his friend Lin Yun says they underestimated Qin Qinglin. At that moment, Princess Mu Jilan recalls that they couldn't get any information when they asked about the student council because the members don't take it seriously. Excited, Ling Bo informs her friends that she will return to the dojo to train before the battles begin. Also excited, young Lin Yun says he will return home and meet the master of the Lin clan to improve his skills. Then Si Jin asks Princess Mu Jilan if she would like to train with him. But something unexpected happens. Professor Gon enters the room, informing them that he will help Mu Jilan improve her skills. Professor Gon tells Si Jin that he is already strong enough and doesn't need more training, and besides that, he should take care of the academy and prepare for the challenges. Enthusiastic, Mr. Gon tells Si Jin that if they manage to join the student council, he will also benefit. At this moment, Si Jin says goodbye to his friends. Concerned about the young disciple, Mu Jilan asks him to take care of himself. Confident, Si Jin tells the princess not to worry, as there will always be a way out in the end. Now alone and hungry, Si Jin decides to look for food. At the Royal Cultivation Academy, we see the canteen, which is considered a paradise for delicious food. In this unique canteen, the best cooks from all over the country work. because all the chefs are willing to share their skills. Thus, many ambitious young cooks are attracted to the academy's canteen to learn exclusive culinary skills. For this reason, many students have worked hard to get into the academy because of the canteen. But the canteen is not perfect, and there are also some drawbacks. Hungry, Sejin holds out his bowl to receive food. Then, one of the students learning the canteen's cuisine prepares to serve Sejin. But something unexpected happens. The student loses his balance with the ladle full of food and heads towards Sejin. So our protagonist prepares to catch the food thrown into the air. With great skill, Sejin starts collecting all the food scattered in front of him. Then we see that something fantastic has happened. The young boy managed to collect everything without letting it fall to the ground. To everyone's surprise, with a calm demeanor, Sejin asks the student who served him how much that dish will cost. At this moment, a girl watches the entire scene from afar, believing our boy was fighting for food. With a superior air, Xiaojiqiu states that Sejin is not a good person for provoking the student council for no reason. Intrigued by the girl's claims, our young apprentice says he has no choice because, as a man, he needs to eat a lot. Looking at the mountain of food on Xiaojiqiu's plate, Sejin says the girl managed to get a lot of food without difficulty. Then Xiaojiqiu tells Sejin not to be upset and that if he pays well, the chefs will give him enough food. Then the young girl becomes intrigued, realizing at that moment that this is the deepest trust between her and the canteen chef. Coincidentally, Xiaojiqiu realizes she can't find her wallet when she goes to pay for all that food. The canteen chef seems enthusiastic, waiting to receive the payment. But then the chef no longer looks so enthusiastic when he realizes the girl forgot to bring her wallet to make the payment. Seeing that the girl could not pay immediately, the canteen chef took the plate from her hands, and Sejin mocked Xiaojiqiu. Very hungry and without money, Xiaojiqiu looks desperately at Sejin, and the boy asks her not to look at him that way. Like a true gentleman, Sejin pays for the girl's food, making the chef very grateful. Then Xiaojiqiu thanks the young apprentice for paying for her food and apologizes for saying he was a bad person. At this moment, Xiaojiqiu changes her mind about Sejin, stating he is a good person. Sejin is happy to see that the girl's opinion of him changed quickly after what happened. Our video ends here. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, bye bye.